ordinary meeting at 9:16 a.m. and thank you for your attendance, councillors. Do we have any, I'd just like to welcome everyone this morning to the meeting. Do we have any one to move on? Which is the first minutes that you have? Michelle?
It's the 28th of July.
28th of July. We'll go with those. Do we have anyone to move on the minutes of the 28th of July?
I'll move. Just got to get there first.
Ordinary.
Is it the ordinary or the special?
Sorry, I moved that out of the way. Sorry. Budget meeting.
Budget meeting's the first one? For the budget meeting?
And this is the one that's got the yellow highlights on
Yep.
it?
Yeah.
They're both got, yeah.
Yeah, not the one that's in the copper.
Okay, do we have anyone to move on those minutes? Councillor Edwards?
I'd like to move that the minutes of the budget meeting held on the 28th of July 2021 be confirmed.
And do we have a seconder? Councillor Taylor, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Okay, do we... Do we have anyone to move on the minutes of the special meeting on the 28th of July? Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to move that the minutes of the special meeting held on the 28th of July 2021 be confirmed.
And do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Did you need the seconder or you got everything?
No, I've got everything so far.
Yep, cool. You just tell us when you need
Mr.
something.
Mayor, can we just ask if that can be made a bit?
Oh, yeah, can
Make
it
it a
be?
bit bigger, is it?
bit lower?
Who gets the word, or I don't know how,
We try to go to the edges if we know how to do
please,
that.
if it's possible.
A little bit better. There you go.
Yeah, a bit, thank you.
A little bit bigger.
Yeah, that'd
That's
be good
enough.
if you can.
Yep, that's good.
If you can go a bit wider.
Just do a little, I'll just keep it so I can still have
Yeah,
a
do
bit
your
of room on the side to not be in your way.
Yep.
That should be okay.
Righto. Do we have anyone to move on the, so we've done the special meeting. Now we're moving on to the ordinary meeting of the 28th of July. Do we have a mover?
Yeah.
Councillor Ladbrook.
I'd like to move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 28th of July, 2021 to be confirmed.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Okay. If there's any,
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to move a procedural motion.
yeah, please go ahead.
I might need a minute, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Right,
Wait for the
but
minutes.
I'll do it here.
Just when she had herself sorted.
Sorry.
No, here I was, feeling comfortable.
But you can have as much time as you need to do it.
Thank you. Okay, so it's a procedural motion. Edwards.
Okay, Councillor Edwards, please go ahead.
I would like to move a procedural motion that we move item C6 in confidential to be considered as the first item of business.
Mayor, can I ask a question? C6, I have a conflict on that. Do we declare now?
It's a procedural motion. We'll adjourn the meeting to get some legal advice on that. So we've got a procedural motion on the table.
Yeah, it's gonna,
Yeah, we're on? Yep.
get the mover to read it out again, please.
Yep,
Mr. Mayor.
please go ahead, councillor Edwards.
I would like to move a procedural motion that we move item C6 in confidential to be considered as the first item of business.
Okay, righto. Well, that's just a procedural motion. We'll,
Question, Mr.
please go ahead.
May I ask why?
Oh, I just thought the item may take some time to discuss, and it would be just good to discuss at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay. Righto. Well, on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? 6-3 if I can call for a division.
Sorry, can I just get that again? Sorry, guys. So, who was the,
It's a procedural.
yeah, so who was for?
Four, so who have you got at the top? Councillor Burkett,
Thank you.
Edwards, yeah, Guthrie,
Catherine, Hancock against,
yep, Ladbroke 4,
for,
yep,
McMillan,
4, and Councillor O'Neill against, and Councillor Taylor. 6-3, and I call for a division. Yep. Okay, righto.
I'll have to declare my
Yep,
conflict now,
please.
Mr. Mayor.
So we're on to C6.
Is
Uh,
Toby
when-
going to put the...
okay, well, this is what we need to
I don't know, I thought you, I'm only not telling you what to do, but she puts that
Please.
No,
format.
there'll be a
What would
template.
you call it, a table up there, and then we go
table, she
through it, and
just
as you
drops.
get to it, and I'll...
Okay, let's have a look. And let's see what happens on.
She
Director
pulled,
Sharon, do you know where that is?
Down to the bottom.
Conflicts, yeah, there's like a table,
she just copies and pastes it across.
yeah, that's the word.
So this is for C6.
There it is there.
That's it.
If I'll ever get to a meeting where I don't have to have conflict.
That's it.
That's
That's
it.
it?
That's it.
That's it?
So you go back up to C.
Oh, these are conflicts. Sorry, I thought these were items. So this is C6.
Yeah.
So do I pick it up and just move it? Is that what I'm doing?
That's,
There's only one conflict there.
That one, just copy that, just copy and take it.
It's a different resolution though.
Yeah, these, but we'll just, but then we'll put up on the screen and the council will be able to
That-
amend that.
Type into it here.
can't put the resolution up though, Rob.
Yeah.
Don't let,
Not the resolution.
Sharon, you can't put the resolution up.
No, just
Just-
conflict.
No, just,
No, sorry.
it flicked through it.
Change it.
We'll just bring in the conflict.
Just change as you go.
So this one up, and then just that way.
declaring
Yeah.
we can
Okay.
that one. Just, give Michelle a quick,
Oh,
Sorry,
No, you're right.
learning on the job.
Yeah,
Okay, so
you're right.
Person in with the interest.
I've got the, yeah, you're right, I'm the person with the interest myself. Type of conflict, prescribed, a declarable conflict, sorry. I'm going too quick for you, aren't I?
Sorry,
We'll
I
all
just
just,
You're right.
just need to slow down a bit for Michelle.
Okay, just talk ahead. My nerves are going now. Oh, okay. That's good. Okay. Declarable.
Mm.
So the next
particular
No,
interest.
it's-
It's actually, no,
the-
particular interest
yeah.
is what is the
Yeah.
actual.
The council
Yeah,
Yeah, I
will
gotta
give
put
you
in,
that.
okay, so,
in there, I gotta put in that I, Councillor McMullen, inform the meeting I've got a declarable conflict of interest involving the staff member referred to in item C6.
I'll have to do that again. Sorry.
You all right? I, Councillor McMullen, inform the meeting I have a declarable conflict of interest in conflict involving the staff member referred to in item C6. And I'll be leaving the room
Oh, okay, sorry.
while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Pardon, sorry?
I will be leaving the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Okay. So this is, I will be,
So you don't need any of the stuff down the bottom, do you?
No, no, it's blank in it because I'm leaving the room.
It's leave that action.
They've got both versions there for councillors to
I
pick.
might. I'll put that later. That's not really.
Okay, I'd like also to declare a conflict,
We'll copy that one.
yeah, it'll be very similar.
You just have to, when you have time, Michelle, pop the report title in, which is
Oh, thank you.
the
Sorry.
subject heading.
Okay. That was for C6, which is.
It probably would have just been easier to show Michelle on the page.
Sorry.
No,
Okay,
it's all
let's just
good.
do that.
There you are. It's, there.
Brilliant, thank you.
It's just those three words there.
He was happy with that. He knew that anyway. I thought it had been all organised.
You're doing a good job so far.
So two then, yeah?
It's not, no, it's, I think I just have to do it manually rather than shortcut. Okay.
Okay, so I'd like to declare a conflict of interest on a C6, contract of employment. I am the declaring councillor, Councillor Golder. The particulars of the interest is I'd like to inform the meeting
Oh, so we don't have to do that.
I think so, just one, so.
Okay.
This one.
inform the meeting of a declarable conflict of interest involving the staff member referred in item C6. So the type of conflict is a declarable conflict of interest, and the action is that I'll leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on. Okay.
We're right to go, are we?
Yeah, you're right. Yep, I'll just hand over to the Deputy CEO.
Everyone's gone.
The meeting is closed,
Move
so
to
you-
close.
The councillors, councillors, are you moving to close? Well,
Well,
yeah.
It's a closed report.
Close report, councillors, so,
Close it while we're here.
closed.
Yeah, maybe leave.
No, you can start getting in.
Can't remember.
Okay, do we have someone to move into closed?
That can't be done.
Big
That
pardon?
can't be done because you two are out of the room, we have to elect a person.
Got one, got a delegated.
It doesn't work like that. You still have to elect the chair of the meeting. We haven't delegated anything to anyone. The mayor's delegated his authority.
Okay.
The meeting has to decide. We can't decide that until you're out of the room. So
Yeah,
we'll have
so-
to elect another chair, and that person will lead the meeting to go into closed.
So they're right.
Yeah, so there again, what I said is I'll hand over to
So we go out in other words.
yeah, hand over to the deputy CEO.
Right, councillors. We've been in this process before there in terms of the chair there. Call for a motion from the floor.
I'd like to nominate councillor Guthrie.
Have a seconder? Councillor Burkett? Right, been moved by councillor Edwards, councillor Guthrie, appointed to the acting chair, been seconded by councillor Burkett.
Want to speak against?
Yep, speaking for, do you wish to speak for councillor Edwards? No, no. Anyone wish to speak against?
Yes, I'm going to speak against that motion because I actually thought that, as in previous meetings, that this is an opportunity for councillors around the table to take a turn to lead the meeting, to chair the meeting. And councillor Guthrie has already had a chance to do this and a turn to do this. And I think, in fairness, there was people around the table who have not had that opportunity. And I'd like to see that that is shared around to other councillors who are sitting around this table to have that opportunity.
Anyone else wish to speak for the motion or against the motion?
I'll speak for, I was one of those guys that did say share around, but the mayor did delegate to councillor Guthrie in this instance a while back, and I think councillor Guthrie is probably the most experienced in this field, as shown in previous meetings, so I'm happy for her to be acting chair.
Anyone else speak against the motion? Or for the motion?
I'm right.
Okay, we'll put the motion there. Those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4. And those against? 3. Motion is passed. Councillor Guthrie, would you like to? So the first item is to move into closed, councillor.
Okay, our item number is C6, Contract of Employment. Is there anybody that would like to move to go into closed, please? Yep.
Councillor Burkett.
I've done that before.
Yeah, I'll move acting chair.
Would you like to be?
In accordance with provisions of section 254J3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, a local government may resolve to close a meeting to the public to discuss confidential items that its councillors or members consider it necessary to close the meeting.
Councillor Guthrie. Second by councillor Burkett.
Yeah, so is that?
Sorry, councillors, we'll just catch up that previous motion there.
Oh.
just
Oh,
wondering,
sorry.
No, you're
do
right.
these resolutions all go into, like, the motions are all for the same item? So we've got one that councillor Guthrie chairs,
Oh, yeah.
second one, what's happening now? Does that make
We can
sense?
sort it, yeah, we can sort it. Just as long as we record it.
Okay, so this is, I'll just make a note,
So council, just regarding the previous motion there, so.
to chair. I'll just put that in brackets so I know to take it out later.
Yeah.
Or, update it if you're happy with
No, we're happy.
Okay, and then that's the first one.
So, yeah,
So
let's
that'll
move
have
a
that down
seconder.
here though.
We'll move a seconder.
I'll have to put another one down here, I guess, for the actual item.
you've
I
got
think this might be
So you
before
move
the
the second, so
item.
you can move the second down. Yep, it was passed. And, you know,
Because we're in open at the moment.
Are we on camera?
so we are, and that's why that's just for that one there. So that's fine.
So
We'll
just, because that's not actually the resolution for the item, that's the
No, it's
resolution to,
Correct.
so I think I should move that out.
Yeah. We can tidy that later.
I'll tie it up later.
And then we've done the motion here. It's been moved by councillor Burkett to move into closed.
Yep.
Sorry, councillor, just the section that you closed it under.
Yeah, I can.
We just need the table that says,
It's just on the top. Do you want me to read it again?
Please.
In accordance with the provisions of section 254J3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, a local government may resolve to close a meeting to the public to discuss confidential items that its councillors or members consider it necessary to close the meeting. Now, we usually do have a,
table.
do you want me just to do it for this item? Yeah. Subject, item number C6, subject heading contract of employment.
And I'll second that.
Councillor Brooke.
Are you good?
That's actually changed that first.
No, I'll need to take that first one out of the item, I think.
May I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Yep. Just while we're in closed, if you've just recorded that, first and second, and then when we go and close, the minute taker will have time to tidy it up and move it. What Councillor Burkett's read out is normally at the top of the confidential. You'll be able to copy and paste that and you'll be able to fix it up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got a mover, got a seconder. Can we go to the vote, please? Those in favour? We're going into closed. Okay. I'll call for a division. Okay, resuming along, item number C6, contract of employment. I would like to move that Council 1 provide formal written advice that Council not enter into a new contract with the current Chief Executive Officer, consistent with the provisions of Clause 4.1 of the stated contract, and 2, adhere with Clause 13.1 of the stated contract, which directs that Council shall keep confidential and shall not disclose, publish, nor publicise the reason for the Council's decision.
Excuse me, Chair. Did you, in point 1, did you mention?
No,
sorry.
No, it's been taken off.
Sorry, taken off, has it?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
So
No,
what I've just
looking
read.
at the screen,
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Can I ask for a seconder, please, for that motion? Thank you, Councillor Ladbroke. All of those in favour?
No.
No,
Oh,
we've got to go
sorry.
discussion.
I'm happy to open it for discussion, but very, very mindful of the confidentiality clause.
You'll be speaking to your resolution,
I'm not going to speak to my resolution, no.
and so you'll seek a speaker against?
I'm happy to seek a speaker against.
I won't be supporting this resolution. I have had an opportunity to vote in favour and against over my 10 years, thousands of resolutions. And there is not one part of me that can support what is being proposed today. I think this is an incredibly sad and dark day, and I therefore will be executing my vote against the resolution proposed by Councillor Guthrie.
Okay. Anybody else like to speak for the motion?
I'd just like to say I think it's time that we moved on a little, and there's been a lot of changes, and I think it's time. Yep, that's all I've got to say.
Anybody else wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Hancock?
I am very sad because I think this is a sad day, and I simply cannot support this motion that has been put forward by Councillor Guthrie, and I'm just very sad.
Anybody else like to speak in favour of the motion? Okay, because we have had some commentary, I would like to just sum up by saying that each of the councillors here today have been required to make a decision based on a contract that was signed in 2017 and involves the expiration of a 5-year contract, and we are required as councillors to make the decision as part of the contractual agreement. Okay, so the motion has been put. We have a mover and a seconder. We will now go to the vote. Those in favour of the motion, please indicate. Okay. Are you good to go? Those who would vote against the motion, please indicate. Thank you. So we have a division. Can we record the division, please?
Yeah, I'm just writing, yeah.
Okay, I think on that particular note, we might adjourn, and when we return
Need to call the vote.
we did call the vote,
Didn't call the vote?
4-3,
Yep.
and it's written there. So
Yeah, I've got
4-3, we've called for a division.
Sorry, no, the chair has to call the vote, not just because it's in the minutes.
Okay. So it's 4-3, division called. A recording of the names of the votes as they were undertaken. Thank you. So we'll now have an adjournment, and when we return, the Mayor will return and take the seat as the Chair. Thank you.
Item 13.1, Booringa Heritage Group Incorporated. Request to erect a cover to provide protection to a recently acquired and possible future exhibits. Councillor Burkett,
I have a conflict.
please go ahead.
On item 13.1, Booringa Heritage Group Incorporated request to erect a cover to provide protection to a recently acquired and possible future exhibits. I'm the declaring councillor. The person with the interest or the related party is Gary Burkett. The particulars of the interest is that he's the vice president of that group. Oh, he's my father too, Michelle, sorry. Handsome young man. Yeah, so it'll be a declarable conflict of interest, and I will leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
We better put these on board.
I was going to say, I've got one for the next one too.
Don't go and start on the peaches yet.
I think we'll just do with one per item.
Yeah.
Okay. Righto, do we have anyone with any questions, or do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that council as trustee for land described as lot number 1 on SP 265643, grant in principle consent for the Booringa Heritage Group Inc. to erect a shelter on the premises subject to council standard building and planning approvals.
We have a seconder, Councillor Ladbrook. Councillor Ladbrook, yep. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? That's 8-0.
Yeah, right to come back.
Yes, thank you. Item 13.2, Mitchell Scout Amenities Refurbishment. Councillor Burkett,
Mr Mayor, I've got another conflict.
please go ahead,
Sorry.
You're right, no?
just whenever.
Item
ready.
13.2, Booringa Heritage Group, sorry,
Mitchell Scouts?
yeah.
That's my fault.
Mitchell Scouts Amenities Refurbishment. I'm the declaring councillor. The related party is my father, Gary Burkett, is the president of sorry. And also my daughter, Lola Burkett. Particulars of the interest is he's the president of Mitchell Rotary Group Club, Mitchell Rotary Club, which is mentioned in the report. And Lola is a member of the Scouts group. And it's a declarable conflict of interest, and I'll leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
I have a question, Councillor Bassett. Just because there's a email addressed to you in the report, but if you've got a conflict, have you had discussions regarding that?
On to, they seen me and I forwarded it on.
So you haven't had discussions regarding this because you have a conflict?
Well, not since that initial letter. No. It's once I realised I had a conflict, I haven't spoken back in regards to that. No.
Thank you.
Councillor Burkett's leaving the room anyway, so.
The afternoon, John, as per our conversation.
Page 52, there's some correspondence there.
Oh, sorry. Yep, I got it.
Okay. We'll just wait, we'll get it all, the paperwork sorted.
Could I just ask a question?
Please go ahead.
To Manager Tanya, it's a lot of money, isn't it? Like, really, you would be better off getting a demountable. That'd be the first thing if and when you had the budget. Would that be right?
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor. That's what we've got Richard here today in case there's any questions in regard to the existing building or what's proposed. The existing amenities are in very poor condition. The Mitchell Scout Group has also recently reformed, so there may be an opportunity for council to determine the long term whether that group is going to continue.
Is there any possibility of just cleaning it up and fixing it up, or it's just? I did actually ask for photos, but I didn't actually get any.
Sorry, I didn't realise you asked for photos. We do have photos. We can send those on to you.
Yeah.
So with the toilet block, it is being used currently. There are just some issues in regard to the layout of the toilet, being that there's a urinal in there as part of the issue. But it is being used at the moment, so it is usable. It's just not ideal.
Yeah. Okay.
I just have a question.
Councillor Ladbrook.
Is there any other halls that, you know, in Mitchell that aren't used a hell of a lot that could do the Scouts?
Through you, Mr
Instead
Mayor,
of building or something?
there is the only other two areas in Mitchell would be the Mitchell Shire Hall and the Mitchell RSL and Combined Sports Complex, which are used a lot
Okay.
already. I think the Scouts probably like having that area up there because it adjoins the old recreation grounds, so it gives them a bit of space, and they're also near the river.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
They have been there a long time.
Yep. Yep.
Councillor McMullen.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor, Manager Tanya just alluded to it. I know the recreation ground's probably not used a lot, but the toilet block is there to serve, am I correct, to service the recreation ground if it does get used?
Through you, Mr Mayor, the recreation ground, we probably locally call it rec grounds. It was used as a rec grounds before all sport moved to the showgrounds. So that was, and then from the showgrounds, it's gone to the Mitchell RSL and Combined Sports Complex. So it hasn't been used for a very long time. I would think probably maybe the early 80s at a guess. That since it's probably been used as a recreation grounds. It's just now got the old Scout Hall in the corner. When Scouts weren't operating, the Mitchell Rotary Club asked if they could start using that as their headquarters. When Scouts reformed, they've come to an arrangement with Rotary where they now share that building.
Further to what, Mr Mayor, based on the assumption that the Scout group will be the only ones using it, is there any way the cost could be reduced by just putting, I might even, oh sorry, it's already been answered. I didn't read it, just one unisex toilet and shower, that's what I wasn't reading it, that's what I was going to ask, but I thought I'd better look at it. That's what, it's still that dear, eh?
I'd like to move that council request a quote in regards to the amenities from the that are used by the Mitchell Scout Den in regards to making it operational to use the shower and to do and for a minor quote to address the issues that the correspondence has brought up on the basis. Now, what is the panel called that is the really minor works where they're fixing a door and so forth? What's that called?
Maintenance providers.
The Trade Services Minor,
Beg your pardon?
the Trade Services Panel.
Yeah, from the Trade Services Minor Panel, with the expectation that we would be looking at improving it as if it was a private individual improving the asset at the moment. So council has just explained what I'm saying there is that we would make the same sort of request as someone from the community that had that toilet block, and they just wanted to make it improved on what it's got without spending major amounts of money. And a lot of people in our community have to do that on a weekly basis, and to see what that price comes back to do that.
There's a third point there, would you want to report back to council
Yeah.
on those points?
Yeah. Councillor McMahon?
My question, Mr Mayor, is what you're suggesting is basically a renovation just to bring it up to standard or something like that. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is there's enormous amount of people in our community live with old assets, and they will, like fix the shower. They'll do basic repairs. They may do some sikaflexing, a little bit of painting, and get a price for that, which is a different level than replacing a toilet block or doing major works.
Mr Mayor,
Councillor
can I just ask, it does say here that the block includes asbestos throughout. I'm just going to ask a question. Does that incur lots of additional expenses? Is it easier? Just mindful of what you're saying about doing basic maintenance with the asbestos. It may make it a very expensive basic maintenance is what I'm suggesting is the better course of action to actually have the demountable.
I think I can shed some light on that through you, Mr Mayor. It does contain asbestos sheeting in it, which is the better asbestos to remove. It's not friable. It's bonded, and it does come with an extra cost for the removal of it as part of a renovation. The building is quite dilapidated. The concrete floor is cracked and unlevel and unsafe, and to bring it up to a standard that would be acceptable for public use, not just private use, Mr Mayor, the costings are fairly well accurate. There's some problems with building in the area. It's a flood zone, so you either have to lift it up above the flood zone to make it so that it doesn't become affected by a flood, or we build it in such a way that it's easily cleaned out, which the quotes which is the purpose-built facility, is for a building of similar ilk to the landmark toilet facilities that are at Wallumbilla and the new one in the cemetery at Mitchell. A similar design to that, steel framed with a space underneath that airflow and water could flow through, could be easily cleaned out after an event and returned back into use as quick as possible.
Just to answer Councillor Guthrie's question, the point I think needs to be made is that they're using it now and they will continue to use it. Generally, builders are versed on what to do with asbestos and live with asbestos if it's not being removed. And I'm not talking about major renovations. I'm talking about they will do things to make it improved on what they're dealing with now. And if council does nothing, they will still be using it. So there's a lot of old facilities that they can get the, doors to work. They can use Sikaflex, which will be a short term. Obviously, got no problem with looking at it in the future for a new building, but it sounds like from the letter they're actually interested in what are you going to do now. And this is a quote to come back to council from the most minor is about getting it better than what they've got now. And a lot of people live with asbestos, and if they're, as far as I understand, as long as they're not cutting it or drilling it or doing things with it, that there is a way that you may not have to remove it if it's a massive job, because otherwise they live with worse, then basically nothing changes. But okay, so I'll just read that.
I had another question.
Yeah, Councillor Hancock.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Manager Tanya, I've always been told that once you touch a bathroom or a toilet facility, that then you have to bring it up to regulations. So I guess the difference between a private person living in their home is that they don't have to abide by the same regulations as council would have to once they touch the facility. So I just want to double check, is that actually true? Would that be, can we actually do minor repairs on it?
If you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, that's partially correct. It goes on a certain percentage of works performed in there. If you do a certain amount, you then have to bring it up to standard. But if it's remedial or repair works, it's fine. But if we were to gut it and reinstate what was in there, it would have to come up to standard.
To remove the urinal and put in a unisex?
Well, you would just remove the urinal and just
Not
have
put back.
just have a pan. That's correct. Yes.
That's good.
Through Mr. Mayor, could I just ask the question? Just in regard to this facility, council doesn't allocate a budget at all for maintenance of it. Just mindful that a common complaint that comes back from the Trade Services Panel is that people are asked to quote on works if there's no actual job, and because it takes time and resources for people to quote. Is there the expectation, if we put this out, that there will be some money allocated to do the work? So basically I'm not talking about a renovation, I'm talking about getting it operating better than it is now without triggering a major upgrade. Just so the respondents, or the people that have written to us, actually said, wow, it's better than now, we can live with it, till we look at replacing it or whatever the go is. So the idea is that, and I think you have different rules for that very minor panel, so you can just get a price. And I would like to see that price come back so we could allot some either maintenance or have to do it in a quarterly review, but quickly make it better than what it is now. That's the expectation if this goes through. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll read it again. That council request a quote in regard to the amenities used at the Mitchell Scout Den, making the shower operational, and that's good. To address issues the correspondence has brought up on this basis, we'll go with this basis, And so, you know, I'm really talking about minor things to make sure that the shower rose works. Even cracks, like they'll use Sikaflex or something in the short term just to make it tidied up. But we're not doing major works. And
And then for report be brought back, prepared and brought back to council.
and also a report be brought back to council with the quotes. If we only need one quote, I'm happy with one quote, because I do understand people have to go all that way to do a quote, and then we're wasting their time. So if there is flexibility or it has to be multiple quotes, I'm happy with that. And a report be brought back to future council. And probably and you could probably, that, we could take that out and then we could come back when we see the quotes and then look at it in the future.
So, yeah, but that council's report be prepared and brought back to council.
Yeah.
Brought back to council.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0.
Probably need to adjourn.
Okay, we'll adjourn. We'll resume. 13.3, Bassett Park Trainers request a review of track and stable fees. Do we have any conflicts? Councillor Ladbroke.
I have a conflict in 13.3, Bassett Park training request and review of track and stable fees. The declaring councillor is myself, Councillor Ladbroke. Person of interest is myself. Particulars of interest. I am a member of the Roma Turf Club. Type of interest is a declarable conflict of interest, and the action I will take is leave the room while the matter is being discussed and voted on.
Councillor Ladbroke, would you put in there committee member?
Yep, that'll do, yep.
Committee member.
Yeah, committee member. Okay, any other conflicts? Thank you, Councillor Ladbroke. Item 13.3, Bassett Park Trainers request a review of track and stable fees. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council, one, advise the Bassett Park racehorse trainers that stabling costs haven't increased since 2019 and have again been capped in the 2021-22 financial year. Two, review how stables are allocated and stable fees charged, with a report to be presented at a future council meeting.
Righto, do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Hancock. Any opposition? I was just wondering, to the mover and seconder, would you consider putting in there, you know, something about the fairly major costs that's going to have to be spent on the older stables that are rusting, as far as getting an idea of what that's going to cost, whether the mover or seconder, because that can inform, obviously, letting the trainers know about that, because we've got the two-tier approach.
I'd be prepared to add something like advise the racehorse trainers that council are looking at. We haven't
Just more about because
refurbishing the old.
Well, like, you know, dealing with all the rust and the.
I just, what I say, that advise the Bassett Park racehorse trainers that council's intention is to proceed renovating some of the original stalls. Does that sound all right?
Yeah, and probably not say we're doing it, but just really make them aware and get some costings back for that report that's coming back to council. Yeah, so to the manager,
Bit of a different topic.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be in favour of putting that in.
It needs to be pulled out into a separate resolution.
You mean which one's that, the money,
yeah, we could do it as a separate resolution, that's fine.
the
So
funds or what?
Yeah, like, no to do with the issues that we've got out there. So I'm happy just to go and I'll move a separate resolution.
Just, okay.
Righto, so we've got a mover and a second. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak?
Hang on, Mr Mayor.
Mr Mayor, do you think it's worthwhile maybe mentioning that council has allocated funds in its budget to do some work on the older stables? Because I understand there was some money allocated. And that- Yeah, yeah,
That was why I was trying, I didn't want to say that because I couldn't remember whether we'd allocate anything, but.
yeah, yeah.
Well, it's more about, and I'm happy to do it in a different resolution. It's more about, we got a bigger issue there. We know we've even got the new stables that have got a lot of rust in them, the older new ones. And to get it up to speed, there's going to be a fair bit of money spent in there, and we've obviously got some money allocated. But it's making them aware of that too, so it's not just we don't have any other costs going on.
Maybe, Mr Mayor, we add to this one, say doing another one, just so.
Well, whatever, I don't mind.
What does the manager recommend?
Can we maybe advise, like, leave the first bit and then at the end, full stop, put one and then go update. Update the, update the trainers on, budgeted projects or future projects that, something like that. Just like give them an update as to what.
Yeah, that
Is what I'm trying to say.
Maybe something along the lines of update the trainers on budget allocation for Basset Park.
yeah.
For the projects.
And well, what I think would be good is also a total cost of what we've got to do out there on the old ones, because there's a,
Do we have that?
I was just going.
well, that's the idea to come back in the report is, you know. So what I was saying, that point 3 was to do with bringing back in the report, you know, it's all to come back in the report and we can have a look at it.
Switch 3 back up and mix it up to 2.
Yeah. Upgrade the trainers. Yeah, I think that we need to get the report back first with that information
Update
on
the
point
trainers
3.
on budget allocations for the, that's, yeah. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, are you thinking of doing that after we get the report back?
Well, we can
Council?
update them on the budget now. We know what's in the budget, we know, I don't know it, but we know there's we know we've got X amount of dollars in the budget to do some work to those older stalls.
But what about the total, like, scope of what we got to do with those stalls out there?
Well, I don't know whether we really have a cost, do we?
Mr Mayor, if you don't mind, I believe there's three jobs that have been allocated capital funds in the new budget. They are maintenance only in nature. Pretty much, it's to do with some flooring in one of the old stables has subsided and become unstable. It's getting redone, the concrete floor. The other one is some brickwork to be done, similar to what has some repairs that have already taken place out there in further stables. And there's a drainage issue over by the barn that'll be addressed in this budget. I believe that's the 3 items that are in the capital.
And the one with the stabling, with the brickwork there was the one that council wanted to continue the work that's been done today. We worked out what we'd spent. We had hoped to do another 2, possibly 3. And then basically we're going to go back to the panel and say to the builders, how many stables can you do for this amount? Because there's a set amount there, because we might get 4.
Yeah.
So, but at this stage we'll try and work to do 2 to 3.
Councillor Henkel?
I don't think that quite reads right, in my opinion. I think it needs to be advised Bassett Park racehorse trainers that stabling costs haven't increased since 2019 and have again been capped in the 2021-22 financial year, and update the trainers on the projects. So bring that up and go and update the trainers on the project projects, budget allocation for 2021-22 budget. I just think budget's not quite right, so just get rid of what projects budgeted for. Or project allocation for the 2021-22 budget. Yeah.
And so move that up and make it part of point one, which is what you're going to do. It's okay. Wasn't going to say it. Michelle had it right the first time. That's all right.
Right, it's a mover and seconder. Happy with that?
Yeah, I'll be happy, that'll be right, yeah.
Righto. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. 8-0. Good point.
Thanks, Rich.
Item 13.4, page 64, request for colour run on Adungadoo Eva's Pathway. I'd like to move that council give permission for Adungadoo Pathway to be used for Eva's Place fundraising event on 21st of August 2021. That's all I would like to say. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? I didn't include that they had to clean the pathway. I believe we should be doing that. Yeah, we'll talk about that in the debate. And any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? Certainly do. I do believe that this is great that we can support community groups doing things to make our communities better. And I do think it's an extra impost that they would have to go and clean the surfaces. And I believe that we, as our council crew, should be able to handle that part of it, which will take the pressure off the volunteers.
So Mayor, would you include in the resolution a second dot point and council support this event by cleaning the area post the event?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Please go ahead.
In addition to what Councillor O'Neill said, that'll be like a sponsorship, so do we ask them to increase Maranoa in the Maranoa Regional Council in any advertising?
Well,
Acknowledgement's a word, I think we use it. In there. Yeah. Well, we do most things when we give.
Yeah, it's a bit, I mean, if you're allowing this is just cleaning the footpath to make sure it's tidy, you know, after the event.
Yeah.
so Councillor McMullen, do you want the third point in, or do you?
I'm easy, as long as everyone's.
I'll be happy to leave it the way it is.
No, that's fine, thanks.
So the second is happy. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going.
Is that with two in or
Two's definitely in. Yeah.
way of cleaning the footpath and surrounding area, is it?
Oh, it's just the.
Mainly the footpath.
No, it's the
I mean, just the
footpath.
cement,
Just
I
the
think.
colour, I think.
Yeah.
So, just.
The rest is just wash away.
Yeah.
Yeah, not on the cement, but does it? Anything on the grass, I wouldn't worry about.
Concrete or posts, whatever's there.
Okay, we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Item 13.5, request for fee waiver for Southern Cross Association. Do we have a mover? Councillor Edwards.
I'll move that council approve the request from Southern Cross Association providing in-kind assistance for their annual poker run on 7th of September 2021 for A, commercial hire of Bassett Park Convention Hall bar and marquee area, and B, camping for approximately 400 people, and 2, transfer the cost of this request estimated to be $4,416 from major in-kind to Bassett Park fees and charges. Do we need a GL for any of them, or pretty right?
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett.
Got a question.
Please go ahead.
It's more of an administrative one. I just wonder going forward, under the financial year's budget, where it says 4,460 in this example, transferred from mining claim to Bassett Park fees and charges, can we have a rolling total?
So we know where
So
we're
we
at.
know what's
Left in the barrel for
what's it sort of.
We had that discussion even with Ed's team as well, just with the two areas, Ed's team and Tanya's there, about having a rolling one there to see what the remaining budget, and we're going to include it going forward. We had this discussion last week. Going forward, we're going to include it in the actual budget implications part of the report, actually say what the remaining budget is.
Yeah.
So how much, and so what it was and how much we spent and what it is. So because it covers across Tanya's and Ed's team, but Ed and I have had this discussion last week. Ed pointed it out as well. So going forward, that's what we're going to do. But
So do we need a GL, or we don't need a GL when we say that wording, or? Don't think so? Righto. Okay, councillor Hancock.
Just leading on from that, because we're transferring it from the in-kind to then the Bassett Park fees and charges, it still will be in our financials, it will still be an in-kind assistance, won't it? Like, we'll still be able to know, we're transferring from one to the other. Yes, it still will be.
Yes, it'll be coming out of that budget, so it will be, and then the internal transfer across to Bassett Park.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Righto. Okay, is there anybody against the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
Sorry,
Beg pardon?
didn't get a sec.
Yeah, me.
Yeah, Burkett.
Oh,
Yeah,
Burkett, sorry.
Councillor Burkett. Does anyone wish to speak?
Oh, yeah, Mr Mayor, I'd just like to say it's another great example of council supports charities. And I think this is a great one, Spine Bifida especially, and anything to do with sick kids. So I think it's a great initiative. I'm glad we're supporting it.
Okay, well, no one else wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Item 13.6, Denise Spencer Pool Private Hire. Question? So this is an interesting one that council has funded free access to the pool. The question is, does it mean that, obviously it makes sense outside those hours for the someone to charge for their time, but if they're charging for the facility and council's made it free access, the question is, what can they, it's a bit like if someone was doing lessons, they wouldn't get charged to come in, but they could get charged for the lessons. So what's your view on that, or what's your thoughts on that?
Mr Mayor, I think that's what the pool manager's seeking clarification on. So in the officer's recommendation, what we're recommending is that that the pool manager put together her ideas about what she would like to charge, and they be approved by council. So that way council maintains, I guess, some kind of control over what people are being charged for. But if council wish to stipulate that the pool manager can't charge for, I suppose, hire of the facility, but can charge for the lifeguard time, for the lifeguards to be there, that's something that council can stipulate.
Councillor McMullen?
Mr Mayor, the question I have, I don't know the answer, it's probably, should they be opening outside the pool hours? They can't, no, but that's, yeah, within their right, yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Swim club and other functions we have in the past.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
I'd like to move that council, so do you have any wording on where, what I'd like to move is that council write to the pool manager, stating that there should be no charge for the facility based on the free access for the people of the Maranoa. However, happy to receive fees and charges that would like to be charged for the lifeguard that is needed to open outside those hours, or something like that, if you've got better wording.
So the resolution is up there, Mr Mayor, that Tanya's put forward there, that confirm the private hire of the Denise Spencer pool. So we're confirming that it can be hired out outside of ours. That doesn't fall with general admission. The second point, and approve that their request to charge fees for private hire and lifeguard fees conditional on the fee schedule being approved prior by council. That probably covers it there. They've just got to come back to, they've just got to set out their fee. I think we understand, like what you were saying, that it's, obviously we're not charging for the use of the actual premises, it's just the cost of the actual her time.
Councillor McMullen?
In line of what you're recommending, Mr Mayor, I don't believe confirm the private hire. When, like if...
Yeah,
You're suggesting, I probably agree, that the pool manager be able to charge for staff time, but is that not, by doing that, it's not the private hire?
The private hire is councils, like, so with the Roma Scouts there, if they actually want to hire it outside of it, that's called a private hire. That's what they mean by private hire, not as in paying a fee to use the actual complex itself. It's outside of normal hours, so the pool's open between certain hours, but if the Scouts actually want to hire it on a Wednesday night to do their swimming badge, and it's not normally opened, and they actually request it to be open, that's called a private hire. It's a private group that's actually got exclusive use of it. That's what we mean by private hire.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'm just thinking, probably with the private hire, I was probably thinking along the lines of that someone has exclusive use, that if the Scouts wanted to go and use it to get their badges, it's closed to anyone else. No general member of the public can go swimming. But what we could probably do that may address what you've raised is that if in the point 2, if we delete a couple of words and have it that point 2, approve the Denise Spencer pool manager's request to charge fees for lifeguard or something, or usage and lifeguard fee, or usage, or no, for lifeguard fees conditional on the fee schedule being approved by council, and then maybe add a point 3, stipulate that the pool manager cannot charge a separate facility hire fee.
Yeah, that's good.
Something
I
like
think it depends if it gets up, but I think we need to communicate that it is free entry. But obviously, if they're staying behind special hire outside, they can obviously charge, for their time, but not like it's got to be a benefit for everyone.
Because, Mr Mayor, as long as it doesn't impact on, as you say, the general admission.
No,
so it comes 5 o'clock and they shut the pool down or whatever the times are, and then they're pushing them out to get a private function going in there. We don't want that happening. Is that what I...
Through you, Mr Mayor, if the closing time's 5 o'clock, they have to be out anyway, don't they?
Oh, yeah, righto.
I mean, whether anyone's coming in for private function or the pool manager's going home. So whatever the hours are, I would believe, set in stone.
And they are set in stone, so the hours that council's approved will happen, and if there's a change, that it comes back to council.
Just thinking they might start pushing people out at 4:30 to get ready for the private function.
No, I think that,
sort of thing.
well, if we have any feedback, then we can bring it back. Okay, so, I like that suggestion, so we can have that. So is that how you would have thought it?
Yeah, would you like me to give the words to Michelle?
Sorry, just having a bit of an issue with my numbering. I don't know what really doesn't want the number 2.
Just,
Yeah, facility, that's it.
There it is.
Should
Oh.
write on it.
Okay. Okay, can I, sorry.
stipulate.
Okay, so get rid of this cannot change.
Yeah, I know, just put it at the beginning. A separate facility.
Thank you.
And I'll just add to that, after facility hire, as council has, yeah, on the bottom of 3,
Past it. Continue.
yeah, as council has agreed to not charge entry to the
Mr.
pool.
Mayor. Can I make a suggestion? Just put in line with council free admission policy or something like that,
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah.
in line with
In line with council.
council,
In line with council.
free entry resolution, I don't know whether you call it resolution or policy, I don't know what you'd call it. Free entry.
Yeah, resolution's good. Okay, I'm going to read that. Confirm the private hire of the Denise Spencer swimming pool complex and provision of lifeguard services outside the stipulated pool opening hours does not fall within the definition of general admission. Do we need that now?
Yeah.
2, approve the Denise Spencer Pools manager's request to charge fees for lifeguard fees, conditional on the fee schedule being approved prior by council. And 3, stipulate that the pool manager cannot charge a separate facility hire fee in line with council's free entry resolution. Okay, I'll move that. And a seconder? Councillor McMullen. So, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? 6-3 if I can call for a division. Okay, moving on to 13.7, Bassett Park User Agreement, Wallumbilla Surat Red Bulls. Councillor Ladbrook.
I have a conflict, 13.7, Bassett Park User Agreement, Wallumbilla Surat Red Bulls. Councillor declaring is Councillor Ladbrook. The person of interest is myself, where I am a sponsor of the Surat Wallumbilla Red Bulls. My boys play for Wallumbilla Red Bulls. The type of conflict, declarable conflict of interest. And the action I'll take, I'll leave the room while the matter is being discussed and voted on.
Okay, is there any more conflicts on 13.7? Okay, thank you, Councillor Ladbrook. Councillor Ladbrook's left the room. Okay, do we have a mover? Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to move that Council 1 enter in an agreement with Wallumbilla Surat Red Bulls for the use of the oval at Bassett Park for a period of 5 years. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to execute the user agreement with Wallumbilla Surat Red Bulls and any other associated documentation.
We have a second, Councillor Hancock. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0.
Mr Mayor? Laid open or?
Yeah,
Everyone's read that?
Yeah.
we've had it for a while now.
Thank you.
You didn't get time to settle down then?
No, not really.
We're going to the
L1 Development Application to extract up to 5,000 tonnes of sand every year from Maranoa River. Councillor McMullen.
Excuse me, Mr Mayor, I will move.
Do we have some councillors missing? Not just adjourn for...
Oh.
No, but I think we'll just wait. We're on L1, Development Application to extract up to 5,000 tonnes of sand every year from the Maranoa River. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that offers a recommendation that application for a material change of use, extractive industry, up to 5,000 tonnes per year on lot 84 DL 154 be approved subject to the following listed relevant, reasonable and enforceable development conditions and general advice listed in conditions 1 to 29 from page 3 to page 8.
Okay, well, I'll second that, but I've got a question.
Me too.
Councillor Ladbrook, you got a question?
Yeah, I just wondered, is 5,000 tonne a lot of sand, or there's plenty there, or I just, you know, is that a stupid question, or?
Down every run.
There's plenty of sand, that's definitely plenty
You
of
know,
sand.
well,
Through you, Mr Mayor, it's fairly small in terms of any extractive industry, 5,000 tonnes. It's,
okay,
It's the lowest threshold.
yeah.
It's the lowest licence.
okay, yeah,
Well, it's the lowest threshold that requires. a
and there's
licence.
plenty there?
Well, these ones
Yeah.
are itinerant. They have the approval for a number of years. They'll win some material out there, and they might not come back for a few years, and they'll come
Oh,
back
yeah.
again. So
Okay.
that's just how much per year they're licensed to take. So
Could be less, it's
Can-
just up to that.
yeah, Cam's was saying it's about 200 semi-loads in that volume they operated at capacity. But
Yep, okay.
Can I ask, you know, obviously I've been concerned to make sure that, and we've had it before where we've had very rural people being affected by, you know, someone next door neighbours doing so, like, we're making a lot of noise, and so forth. With this, how far is this away from the closest house, or is it actually, obviously they're getting out of the river at different places, I'd imagine, but where are we approving this? I see there's a stockpile here and so forth, but have we got it?
Mr Mayor, I couldn't tell you the distance to the nearest sensitive house. I can tell you that it was publicly notified,
Yeah,
and all of the adjoining owners did receive a personal letter to say what the proposal was about.
Right.
We didn't get any objections or submissions at all in relation to it. I believe it's just from this one small area that they're extracting the sand from, and then just stockpiling it on the site. They won't be doing any processing or anything like that. They'll take it into town to do that finishing.
Has the landowner in here, closest to it approved it?
The landowner had to consent to the application being made by
general.
Roma Sands. Yeah.
Right.
And
Mr Mayor, it is a long way away from anywhere.
Just move.
Righto, we've got a mover and a seconder. Is any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0.
Barbie son.
Yeah.
L2, application for funding, National Farm Safety Education Funding, improving farm safety practice grant opportunity. Councillor Hancock.
I move that council endorse the application for funding submitted under the National Farm Safety Education Fund and authorise the Chief Executive Officer to sign the funding agreement and any other associated documentation if successful.
We have a second, Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? Yep.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, this was brought up at the rescue meeting the other day and they were very pleased with how it's going to progress, so it's a positive step forward, yes, sure.
Yeah, I'd also like to say too, if we can even just save one accident from happening, and some of them are pretty horrific, then that's a win for our community. So hopefully that it's a very positive thing for the community of the Maranoa. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Item L3, request to host Opera Eagle's Nest Broadway to Bocelli 2021. I've got a question on this one.
Got a conflict.
Oh, Councillor Edwards.
A bit of a singer.
Yeah. Well, I've just got to find it. Oh, is it up there? No?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, good. Righto. I have an interest in the matter. Item L3, description request to host Opera Eagle Nest. Broadway to Bocelli 2021. Declaring Councillor Mark Edwards. What do I put in there now? What do I do? Where is it? Related party, close associate, other relationship. My partner, Pan Otto, PANOTTO. Particular of interest, Pan Otto has been in discussions privately herself with Opera Eagle Nest Howard Edmonds in relation to an entertainment matter. In discussions privately in relation to an entertainment matter. Yep, and type of conflict, declarable conflict of interest. And I'll leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Is there any other conflicts?
You right with that? Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. I've got a question. With this one here, and in relation to it being seniors, it's tied up in Seniors Week, as far as I read that. Do we have to charge? Can we make it free admission?
That is the intent, Mr Mayor. The report says that particular, there's two performances.
Oh, two, is there?
Yeah.
Right.
So the 1st of October is a long weekend, and that's their normal tour.
Yep.
The group was discussed with this group to do another performance around the same time for Seniors Week as part of our normal. So we would make that free of charge.
Yep.
The Seniors Week performance. No revenue from that.
That's a question.
Yeah. Councillor O'Neill.
It's just, I'm a bit confused on the dates. It's got on page 51, which is their advertisement.
Yes.
Bassett Park, Roma, Saturday the 2nd of October.
The Saturday the 2nd of October is the date for the RFDS Mystery Ball.
Yes.
So it would conflict.
Yes.
So they were able to rearrange their schedule. They were meant to appear in St George on the 1st, so they've been able to swap those dates. So they'll be in St George on the 2nd, but in Roma on the 1st.
And there's no performance on the 29th of November, just in the executive summary. It's got on, again, Friday the 1st of October, then Sunday the 29th of November. I just didn't see it
That's
in the.
2020.
I know it says 2020. I assumed that was a typo of 2021.
Be a typo, yeah. So
So are they coming back here on Sunday, the 29th of November?
it was the 24th of November, isn't it? According to Tuesday, the 28th of September for a lunchtime concert,
Yep.
and then the 1st of October.
Just in the executive summary in paragraph 1 at the end, it's got on Friday, the 1st of October, then it's got Sunday, the 29th of November 2020.
Sorry.
That's
Take
out.
that out.
Yeah, okay, righto. I'm happy to move.
Sorry, can we just witness the
It's fine.
executive summary?
Right.
And there's also,
Okay. Excellent.
The executive summary removes Sunday, the 29th of November 2020. That doesn't exist.
Is it being replaced with anything?
Well, it's Friday, the 1st of October,
2021.
2021.
I've got another question.
Pans do it.
Rather than charging the community, if, like, this one's not a huge amount of cost to have it. The other question is, could we make it, to get more people there, could we make it actually, do we need to charge if someone is going to, like, have we got enough staff to actually, open the doors and provide an event for the community?
so good question, Mr Mayor. Thank you for raising that because it is an issue. On the 1st of October long weekend, presently we're understaffed at the moment, so we're a bit stretched with events, particularly that weekend being a long weekend. As part of our Seniors Week activity, normal, staff can handle that. We've got that covered, so there's no charge for Seniors Week. What we proposed to do in the report for the 28th was to go to the community and call for expressions of interest for a community group to actually host the event, like we do the small halls. And there might be one of the arts groups or something wins that opportunity, and then they will work with the Opera Eagle's Nest to host the event, receive the ticket sales and a bar and all of those things.
Is
And
that
that
for
would-
the 1st, though, not the 28th,
For the 28th.
which is the Tuesday?
That's right. That's right. So the 1st of October is the sorry, that's the 1st. I'm sorry. The 28th is Seniors Week. So we got that covered. That's a council thing. So it's 1st of October we're talking about. So long weekend, I've got a problem on that long weekend. No staff to do this. So the option would be to go to the community and get a community group to run it. And there's a risk there, of course, if we can't get a community group to run it, we've got to try and find a way.
Councillors could do it.
Well, Opera Eagle's Nest has said that they've got 8 to 9
get
people,
excited.
performers, that they would do a fair bit of the work themselves, but we might need to augment their activity, particularly with ticket sales and so on and so forth. In the past, we've run the ticketing in this alternative arrangement. We wouldn't charge anybody for anything if it all works that way.
Yeah, gotcha. Councillor
Mr
Guthrie?
Mayor, can I just suggest to Manager Ed, get onto schools too, because parents and friends or parents and citizens associations, they're always looking for activities and they could be one that you may not have considered in the past.
Through you, Mr Mayor, if council consents to this request, we will go to the community widely and call for expressions of interest the same way we did with Festival of Small Halls and others. So we'd hope that a group like that would come forward.
Councillor O'Neill?
Happy to move.
Please
Is there
go
another
ahead.
question, Lou? Did I see you, John? You were
No,
up?
not in agreement.
I'll move that Council 1 accept the proposal from Opera Eagle's Nest to perform Broadway to Basheli at Roma Cultural Centre Auditorium on the 1st of October 2021 at a cost of $3,500 to be funded through GL 2887 225020001, the RADF strategic initiatives. 2, call for a community group to provide assistance to the performance on the 1st of October event in exchange for gate revenue at a maximum ticket price of $20 per adult and $10 concession. 3, provide the venue Roma Cultural Auditorium as in-kind sponsorship, totals $200. 4, items 1, 2 and 3 above, conditional on securing the services of a community group to host the event. 5, accept the proposal from Opera Eagle's Nest to perform Broadway to Basheli at Roma Cultural Centre Auditorium on the 28th of September 2021 as part of the Senior Week celebrations at a cost of $2,500 to be funded through the Arts and Cultural Budget GL 28852001.2001. 6, authorise the CEO to sign the agreements on behalf of Maranoa Regional Council.
Okay, so with that, and I'm happy to second that, with that move, as the mover, would you envisage that we would actually go and talk to the schools and like email them directly, like so we're actually talking to groups, or just put it out on a broadcast? Because sometimes they don't get to hear about it.
So, Mayor, my understanding is we've got a pretty exhaustive, distribution list, particularly, Fiona Vincent, with her grants that she sends out. I think it'll be captured.
Righto, because, sometimes people say, I never heard about that, so. Councillor Hancock?
I think it's been fixed. It's okay. I saw a grammatical error, but it's been fixed, so that's good.
Through you, Mr Mayor, the Local Development Officer Network will ensure that the schools become aware of this, the PNCs.
Righto,
Yeah.
that'd be good.
I just wonder if I can include in there in 4, where it says items 1, 2 and 3 above conditional on securing the services of a community group to host the event. Maybe add to that, in the event these are not met, it comes back to council. Given what Councillor Ladbroke said, we could all chip in and...
Yeah, wouldn't take much. Be good.
Far better to have the event and we run it than
Yeah.
it not happen at all.
Righto, I'm happy with that. Is the seconder?
In the event these are not met, it comes back to council. The matter comes back to council.
Yeah, okay.
Righto. Everyone understand that? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? Councillor O'Neill?
Thank you. I think we need to wholeheartedly support initiatives like this. I, along with Councillor Hancock, both attended the opera that was held out at Bassett Park. We did in our, we purchased tickets or whatever, but we helped out by being ushers on the night as well to help the staff out. And I can't recall one person walking past me at the end of the night that didn't thank council for facilitating that event. It was a 100% sold event. In fact, there was a long waiting list, and I got a couple of calls myself on that day of very disappointed individuals that weren't able to get tickets. And the feedback was wherever council can provide this type of entertainment or facilitate this entertainment into the region, that it does add to the fabric of our community. So I wholeheartedly support this, and I'm pleased to move it, and I hope council fully supports it.
Does anyone else wish to speak against or for the motion? I certainly agree. I believe that if we can do these things and keep it affordable and easily accessible, I think our biggest challenge is getting people to know about them. But it's fantastic that if we can do this for the Maranoa community, and I hope we can do these sorts of things over the whole community of the Maranoa. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Okay, page 55, L4, request for non-financial assistance, Roma International Speedway. Councillor Taylor,
I'm happy to move.
please go.
Before you say, Mr. Mayor, if I could, there was provide financial assistance to Roman International Motor Speedway to supply and transport. And rather than the square meterage, we're just supplying it. Councils, they're going to spread it, so depending on the thickness that they spread it, depends on the square meterage they're going to get. So rather than 4,000 to 6,000 cubic metres, we're just going to say 1,000 tonne. So that's how much we're supplying. After then, how thick they spread it depends on how much coverage they're going to get.
Yep. That's fair enough,
Yep. Please go ahead.
So I'd like to move that council provide non-financial assistance to the Roma International Motor Speedway to supply and transport 1,000 tonne of road-based type fill delivered to the site of the Roma Speedway before the 20th of August 2021. I'd also like it noted that it's probably an estimated cost of 87,000.
Sorry, get through, Mr Mayor. No, just an update on that. So $3,500.
How much?
3,500. The difference is obviously when this report was first prepared and they approached us there, they wanted to use the material that we actually had identified there for Queen Street. There wasn't enough there, so we're going to try and blend it up with stuff from the quarry. We started bringing road base into the quarry. That was actually going to be the cost, which was quite significant. So we're blending it up with actually some of the material at Main Roads that she had removed off the highway there, and been stockpiling up there near the near Freeman's Road there. So by blending those two together and blend it, that'll have basically no cost for the material. It's just going to be the carting, so 2 trucks, a loader for a day. It's going to be about 3,500 to 4,000.
Well, that's good then.
Yeah.
That we've sort of worked on that after we had to get the report in fairly quickly when the request came in because of the dates looming. But no, we've worked on a figure of $3,500 to $4,000.
Councillor
You
McNaught.
don't have to put that in there if you don't want.
No, Mr Mayor, I just asked Director Rob, when you say mixing, are they going to mix it or council will deliver the two products and they'll mix it?
Well, the discussion that Cam and Ed had with them was that we would supply it and they would actually spread it. So I took it that we'd actually just be the 2 trucks running and dumping it there. So
Yeah.
So would the mover, did we have a second or was it
I'm happy to second it.
Fingers in the air.
Councillor Burkett? Would the mover and seconder be happy to put a second point is, this is very good, and it's sort of pretty low cost and a great scenario, but could we have would you consider a point 2 that we, so this is not what all they need, so if we can have a point 2 when others come available that council supports a similar thing, so we're using our bits and pieces left over to give the whole area.
So maybe the council consider further allocation of any additional resources.
Yeah, so it's on the, you know, it's,
No, point 2.
yeah, would the mover be happy with that?
Can you just explain to me again?
Sure, we'll get it up on the screen and just get you to have a look at it.
If there's any other material come available, drop it out.
Oh,
Yeah, that's-
Because this is not the total what they need.
They need a lot more than that.
Council, whether council consider any
Dump it straight out there rather than double handle it.
allocated.
I think that's what,
Yep, it's probably just say surplus, just additional, we could find additional material now, but it would cost, so.
Yeah.
just-
So
as,
it's
as,
more than surplus.
yeah.
So council consider
Allocating
allocating
any
any
surplus.
surplus.
Can we say,
Runner Speedway.
yeah, to complete their request, because this is not all their request, but it's a great start, so. If the mover and seconder would be happy to
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
agree with that.
So point 2 would be consider allocation of any surplus material to the Roma Speedway to complete their request.
Yep.
Happy with that?
Maybe in the future surplus, because we don't have any at the moment, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Just in the future surplus, yeah.
so you're happy with future in there? So. Okay, and now, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? I certainly will. Another great community group and volunteers, you know, putting incredible hours into having another sport available. The Roma International Speedway are bringing, I think, from memory, 4 state titles to Roma. People want to come and race in Roma. That creates economic development for the region. So any way that we as council can help, I believe, is great flavour, and there's been many local residents going out there and experiencing Speedway, lots of new residents for the first time. So, you know, it's a great thing for the community. Does anyone else wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. L5, Mount Hutton Retirement Village Injune bus hire. Three.
I'd like to move that council grant number 1, grant Pinaroo Inc. the amount of $1,706.41 to cover the extension of the insurance for the Mount Hutton Retirement Village bus to accommodate daily hire to the community for 2021-22. 2, daily hire rate is not to exceed $250 for any one event. And 3, the cost will be debited from work order WO 014829 2539 2001 Injune LDO Materials and Services.
We have a second, Councillor Edwards. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Righto, moving on to L6. L6, Roma Tennis Club, request for financial assistance. I'd like to move that council write to Roma Tennis Club with a commitment of sponsoring half the cost of the courts in a written letter if Roma Tennis Club can find funding for the other 50%. And point 2, council consider this project consider this project for future grant rounds where it fits the criteria. Yep. Point 2 is that council consider this project for future grant rounds where this project fits the criteria. Deputy Director, what's that wording like? Does that have a general point 2, the point 2 wording?
Yeah, generally it's just called under the funding grant.
Just keeping it broad.
Eligibility criteria, where
Righto.
it meets the project.
That the bottom one, Michelle.
Sorry, just trying to
Yep.
this one, so what do I do? I just getting changing of the last one.
So yeah, the eligible criteria for renovation. Consider the project for future grant rounds where it meets the, what is it, eligible criteria?
Consider this project for future grant rounds where it meets the project eligibility criteria.
Yeah, so that's
Just at the,
Sorry, I'm just reading the project eligibility criteria. A lot of money.
I'll ask a question.
Yeah, please.
So, council have promised them just over $100,000 if they can
Yeah,
get the rest.
yeah, instead of commit to raising, just, it would be commit,
205,000.
can,
Commit to.
like, yeah, but we're actually saying if they can get a grant for the other half, or if they can
So
commit.
we can afford that? That 100,000?
Well, what I'm putting forward is that we make the commitment, so they go out and, which we've done for other projects, they go out and find the other funding, and then that's a start, so they've got something to work off,
Yep.
which would make it more attractive to a grant round.
Yep.
But there's other grant funding that might come up in the future that has not been necessarily, we don't have to hand now that we may be able to look at doing.
Yeah.
So not necessarily. So they're not necessarily, we could go for funding for that other half down the track.
So what I'm saying is, because a lot of sporting groups fund things by getting half the money and then they go and get the other half from, say, Sport and Rec or wherever, right? So if this is supported, what happens is we would give them a letter to say, council will commit to half of that project if they get funding for the other half of the
Like we
project.
did with the drags.
Yep.
But
And
is our half coming from a grant, or is our half
no,
coming from?
no, our half would be coming from council. We would have to fund it when they get their grant. Now, if they don't get their grant, we're not funding it, right? But we're making the commitment that we would fund it. Separately, there is other grant funding that hasn't been decided yet that we could actually look at doing the project, possibly council doing themselves as full funding. And that would be something that we could look at, but it's about giving them an opportunity to do something now because, so does that make sense? So it's basically so they've got a commitment they can move forward with, but also at the same time, we're also keeping the door open for other funding rounds that we know that we've got funding for that might fit the criteria. Okay, and we could use that as a project.
Council can't do that without allocating it.
Well, we've done that before.
If you're thinking of what we did for the likes of the SES in Wallumbilla, we committed the dollars, we allocated the dollars, and that they were able to leverage that. We can't, council, if we did this today, there is a provision in the Act that we're all liable, the 9 of us. Not the ratepayers, the 9 of us. If we don't have it budgeted or ask the staff to go and find the 100 to earmark it, right, we are up for that because it's not in the budget. Now, I'm not against this. I think it'll be a good project. We've just got to get the staff to go and find where that 100K is.
We have actually made that before where we've said, yes, we have.
It had to have been in a budget.
No, it wasn't in the budget because we actually had to commit to a very large project that we committed and we put in the letter that we would commit to funding the other half.
What was the project?
One to the east where we said that
What is it though?
we would commit to the other half of the project and we wrote a letter here and we actually got a check because I think you brought up the same issue then and you said we can't do that and it's like you have to because some funding sources want to know that you're going to commit to the other half.
That was prior to the budget. That was saying that we're going to put it in the budget prior.
But, but we didn't put it in the budget.
You can give him principal support, but the moment you say commit, we're signing a check that if they get the money, right, and let's hope they are successful, we're committed to that. It's in a resolution.
Can we move to lay this on the table so we can get this advice? So
Right.
we're not.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All those in favour? 9-0.
Oh, sorry, yeah, later in the meeting. Sorry.
Yeah.
How tight is the grant that they've got to put in for?
No, they don't.
Putting in for a grant.
They don't have a grant.
They've been told, I've sent everyone the email, they've
Yeah.
been told the situation. And, yeah.
What's, through you, Mr Mayor, Manager Ed, seeing you might have to be the gentleman that's doing it, how long do you need to find that information? Do you want to make it next ordinary meeting or? to lay on the table.
Next week. So that would involve speaking to the president of the Tennis Association.
To answer Mayor Golden and Councillor O'Neill's questions.
That's more of a legal question.
It is a legal question, that's what I was,
Yeah, so it's not really speaking to them, it's actually finding out whether we can put in a letter that we can commit, which I believe we've done in the past, and I understand that we would have to find the money, but I'm happy to do that. I wouldn't want to do anything that's against the Local Government Act.
If you could remember the example, Mr Mayor, we can check the resolution.
Yeah, sure.
So next meeting be fine?
You know that you just don't want to say it.
Oh, no, I don't want to, and there's a couple of things I wouldn't want to say in open, but yeah, we can pull that up, and if we've got time till the end of the meeting, we can have a look at it. Okay, so we said till later in the meeting, so you've got an opportunity, so it's probably more for the CEO with the legal to check that out.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll move on. L9, commercial land in Mitchell. Oh,
L784.
page 84, is it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Councillor Burkett, you laid it on the
Yeah, I
table,
laid it on the
didn't you?
Till later in the meeting.
I won't do that. Moved by
L7, Bamba Gilly Festival. Bambagee Festival. Thank you, Councillor O'Neill. Do we have a mover? Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move the council repeal resolution number OM/02.2021/49 and replace with that council one waive the fees associated with the hire of Bassett Park facility for the Bambagee Festival and Magula art exhibition from the 13th of September to the 29th of September 2021 to allocate the costs associated with the hire of Bassett Park to the in-kind assistance major budget GL 2887.2248.2001. 3, approve sand to be laid at the Roma Yarning Circle by Surat Aboriginal Corporation for the Bambagee welcoming/opening ceremony with the following conditions. Type, quality and placement of sand to be determined in consultation with the council's maintenance, delivery and works department. Materials and delivery to be provided and organised by Surat Aboriginal Corporation. Sand is to be spread evenly across the area following the event.
Can I just make a suggestion? Rather than referencing maintenance, delivery and works department, because that won't exist at that time.
In consultation with council, full stop.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a question? So is Surat Aboriginal Corporation laying the actual sand physically, or are they just working with council to put it in the right spot?
no, working with council.
Yeah.
Through you, Mr Mayor, working with council to put it through the right spot, yeah.
That's not how it's read.
Yeah, just
That's not how it reads there. It's saying approve the sand to be laid there by.
But I thought in the report that they got someone to lay it.
yeah, just that's what just threw me in the first sentence of number 3.
Mr Mayor, I'm just reading the email from Jess Walsh. It really needs to be followed up because it's really not even clear where she's requesting who's doing the laying. It's just asking that we need the sand to be placed to the right of the yarning circle. So it's
But didn't it somewhere in there say where they've got someone to lay the sand? Didn't they say in a different, or is that in our report?
I'm just reading the email on page 87 from Jessica Walsh. And it's really not clear who they are expecting will be laying the sand.
Yeah, that's a fair question. It says the Surat Aboriginal Corporation will seek out someone to deliver and place the sand at the Adungadoo pathway. Who's then?
And then it also says we need the sand to be placed to the right of the yarning circle area.
Yeah.
Doesn't actually say who's going to do it.
Well, I believe that
It's all organised.
been in discussion with the manager of Bassett Park, so it's quite advanced. My interpretation is that they require us to do it, or they request us to do it.
Righto, did we had a mover, councillor O'Neill?
Well, then that's not right, it says I. Maybe you need to take the I out,
Yeah, just to say, in conjunction with the Surat.
in consultation.
Oh, yeah.
Consultation with the Surat.
Approve sand to be laid at the Roma Yarning Circle in consultation with Surat Aboriginal Corporation.
And whatever happens can happen.
Yeah, that way it doesn't.
That's a bit clear, isn't it?
Yeah.
We have a seconder? Councillor Hancock.
Oh, I did.
Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Item L9, commercial land in Mitchell.
L8.
92. 92.
Trying to speed up
Jumping
too
at the bit
much.
there, Mayor Golder.
L8, Roma Girl Guides Building Condition Report. Do we have a mover? Councillor Ladbroke.
I'd like to move that receive and note the Girl Guides Building Condition Report dated the 30th of July 2021 and consider allocating funds in Q1 budget review to undertake urgent repairs on the building as identified in the building condition report. And number 3, invite expressions of interest for a not-for-profit community organisation interested in tenanting the facilities.
We have a seconder, Councillor McMullen. Councillor McMullen, do you have a question, Councillor Guthrie?
I have a question to manager, if Tanya, if you wouldn't mind. Can you just confirm, so it's $49,980, is that what we're looking for the repairs?
Through you, Mr Mayor, the actual urgent repairs that have been identified that need to happen to bring it up to a safe tenantable standard is the $3,880, which is the replacement of the treads to the front steps, replacement of treads to match, service the air conditioners and provision of remotes and screwing down the roof.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, also the broken glass in that photo, I suppose that'd be not part of it too, I suppose. Window.
The window?
Sad, really.
Okay, so we've got a mover and the seconder.
Yep.
Yep. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Now L9.
800, Mr Mayor, just in case you haven't.
L9, commercial land in Mitchell. I'd like to move that, to make it easy for Michelle. Okay, so I'll go that that Council 1, invite tenderers to purchase vacant industrial land located in Sophia and Grace Street, Mitchell, specifically described as lot 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 34 and 35 on M15119 with tenderers to be invited. Tenders to be invited on individual lots. 2, include in the tender specifications that council has no intention of upgrading Grace Street, Mitchell. 3, require tenderers to submit details of the proposed use of the land, B, timeframes for development, C, number of lots proposed to be developed and configuration, D, an explanation of the economic benefits to Mitchell and the Maranoa. And I'd like another point, point 4, that signs be erected 1,200 by 2,400 outside the proposed lots to make the community aware of the tenders that will be, how do you say, let or tenders called? Tenders called, and the tenders do not, and the tenders are not called until the signage is erected.
Zero off those numbers.
Yeah, I was just gonna, 1,200, not 12,000.
Oh, sorry. Mr Mayor,
Well, I'll see it from the road anyway.
Mr Mayor, council, council does have the core flute ones. They're the same size as what the real estate agents use. So it's got Maranoa Regional Council, something like for sale by tender. Will that suffice? I don't know the size of those.
If we could have more of them, but I'm just concerned that part of this is making the whole Maranoa and Mitchell community aware that this land is going up. So I believe it's very important to have signage and everyone gets to see it. So how many of those would there be?
Through you, Mr Mayor, we would have a few of them, I believe, still. Just like to find them in storage, but would that be sufficient size, the size that the real estate agents use?
Yeah. Councillor McMillan?
In light of what Manager Tanya's just said, with the core flute signs, they are ones that council reuse? What, is that the word?
Yes, that's right. They're the ones, they've just got their standard printed ones that say Maranoa Regional Council, for sale by tender, and then I think it's got the 1300 number, I believe, on them, if that's
They're already
sufficient.
printed, yeah.
Yeah, they're
No, I was
already
gonna-
printed.
Thought it might have been able to turn them the other way, but anyway, I guess a heap of those, well,
Yeah.
Councillor Taylor's got a question, but I will in a second.
Councillor Taylor.
Through you, Mr Mayor, Manager Tanya, this commercial land is this exactly the same land that we had expressions of interest on before?
yes.
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor, yes, councillor Taylor, it's the same ones who've called expressions of
So that's the only land that
interest.
council own in the industrial, commercial in Mitchell? Because wasn't that what the report was looking for?
There is some information in the report there about additional, some land that we do have. There's also something there about showing, there's a map showing the zoning. So in terms, so there is some additional information there that council could look at in terms of future development. There's some information there about some land that Booringa Shire Council acquired as freehold from the state, which is the old sale yard site. That could be developed in the future for industrial land, but it's not in a situation where it can be now.
108, can you tell me where that is?
The yellow, I think,
It's the highway.
not purple, is it? Okay.
Purple industrial.
Industrial's the purple. So at the moment, it isn't zoned as industrial, but it was acquired for that purpose. So it's the land currently being used by the Maranoa Pony Club. So when you're driving to Mitchell from Roma, you go past it. It's on your right there.
Oh, yeah.
It's the old sale yards.
So we own that.
We own that. We also own a block of land that is zoned as industrial, but again, it would need work doing to it before it could be offered. It's just a parcel of land that's currently under lease for grazing, and it's just down Piggery Lane.
Thank you.
Councillor Burkett.
Just before I second it, just with the part of the resolution with the specification of council, no intention of upgrading Grace Street, but there is a section of land to the west of there on that map that's in the purple. So should we take that out in case we do decide to use that part later on? Because there is a chance down the track that we might have to use that road. So can we take would you mind taking that out?
No,
Is
I'm
that-
happy, or do you want no intention at the moment, or?
At the moment, yeah, like just say, because otherwise we're shutting the door on it.
I think that's just basically saying that council's not gonna fund it.
Yeah.
So, opposite those blocks that are there now, yeah, on the highway. So, you know, the school's got the block across the road, hasn't it?
That's owned by Education Queensland, the ag site.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's Education Queensland.
those blocks there, all divided up. No, there's one, up west of that.
They fenced off the land that's there and they've actually put the
Yeah,
shed in
no,
it.
but that straight west across from where these lots are, it's in pink. The big pink square. Tanya, would that have native title on that, or?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'd have to have a look at what the land tenure on that is, whether it's, I would be thinking it's a type of reserve, and if it is a reserve, we would have to deal with native title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that can come back.
So on page 108, are those blocks marked there?
Yeah, see where the big pink square is, straight above it, there's
I haven't seen a pink
the
square.
last, there's 3 rows in a row of divided up blocks. It's the last one.
Purple.
You point to it.
Purple.
Purple?
Take my eyes with glasses on. That one there.
Over there,
We are using those existing
Oh,
signs. Do we need the dimensions in there? Because I don't think they're the size that we've
No,
got.
they won't be. So which of the blocks?
That's the highway.
That's a BP, it's the last, past the last one, sorry.
So those,
That big yellow one's the
Which is
school.
Grace Street,
Grey Street's not marked.
those,
It's the one that's at the
Which one
left-hand
is
side.
That's Caroline, Catherine, Sophia.
They're just down there.
That's the last the blank
Grace, that
one.
one.
The last purple blank one.
That's
Is
Grace.
is the land. Yeah, see if I can
could they be changed to,
have a look on that thing, you can see it better.
Okay, is that Eaton Street or Elton Street?
Eaton Street's further,
Way,
all the way out.
Eaton, is it?
Is all the way
Eden's
out.
north of there, way.
But what are the streets named
so
of?
there is more industrial
People?
further
Oh,
out.
university's one way, and English River, Queens, Royal Family.
Oh, Eaton, yeah,
Cambridge, Eton, Berkeley.
Burger Street.
Yeah, but in Chinchilla there is.
must have been desperate then for stuff.
Clever, mate. You got all this sorted.
So that's their shed there, that's the bore, so it's the last one. So it's all those,
Oh,
that's where that
righto.
street would be.
So there's a shed on that one there.
That's the one that they built.
So here, there's a shed
That's,
in the corner there.
yeah, that's the one we're looking at. That last plain purple one's where the bore is. But there's room there for blocks.
What are we waiting for, Mr Mayor?
Just making sure that everyone understands what we're talking about before we move further with this motion. So does everyone understand where the commercial land?
Yeah.
Got no idea.
And Director Rob, with that wouldn't mean that we'd definitely have to sell them all if council didn't want to, did it?
That's correct. Correct, Mr Mayor. You're just inviting tenders and it's up to council if they accept all or none,
Yeah.
or some.
Okay, so everyone understands what we're talking about. So if there's signage, erect signage out the side,
It can be done next week.
awareness of the tenders that will be called. And if I could put erect signage outside proposed lots, and it's a bit busy along there, and on the other side,
Yeah, well, it'll have to be on both sides,
yeah,
because it's fronts the highway and side street, so.
yeah. So do you, Councillor Burker, do you believe people will notice it when they're going past with those signs that are talked
Yeah, if
about?
it's- yeah, definitely.
So the general community?
Mr Mayor, like what Manager Tanya said, I believe that's what, if there's enough of them, especially on the highway side, they'll miss, if they go past the first one, then they'll look at the next one, you know, get a.
Or we could go with them big signs. We could.
12,000.
So, right, is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it?
Yeah, I just think it's a great, I think there's some interest in it, and if it comes off and they get sold, moving forward, it'll be great for the town and the district, I think.
Okay, and I'd like to speak to it too. I believe this is an opportunity for any business in the Maranoa or, and obviously focusing on as well, businesses in Mitchell as well as the Maranoa, that they all have a look at this and put their best foot forward on what they would like to do. So this is a great opportunity. So if anybody's watching this video and they would like to put forward submissions about this tender, about what they would like to do with economic development for in the Mitchell area. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Myself and Councillor Burkett. L11. Councillor attendance at L10, sorry.
Give me pages in the right order.
L10, notice to amend resolution OM/06.2021/53. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, can I suggest, can I move that council rescind resolution number 0M-06.2021-53, that council select Stacey Ann Robinson as the recommended tenderer for tender 21034, Denise Spencer Pool Management Agreement at the tendered price of $529,250 per annum, including GST. Council allocate funds in the 2021-22 budget and future budgets to fund the $4,118, $14.13, including GST, increase in the annual management fee. 3, council delegate the authority to the Chief Executive Officer to enter into final negotiations with Stacey Ann Robinson and execute the management agreement 2 years with the option of additional 2 by 1 year terms if the terms are acceptable, and replace it with that council select Stacey Ann Robinson as the recommended tenderer for tender 21034, Denise Spencer Pool Management Agreement at the tendered price of $539,250 per annum, including GST. 2, council allocate funds in the 2021-22 budget and future budgets to fund the $428,414.13, including GST, increase in the annual management fee. 3, council delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer to enter into final negotiations with Stacey Ann Robinson and execute the management agreement 2 years and the option of additional 2 by 1 year terms if the terms are acceptable.
I'll second that motion. Is there any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it?
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Manager Tanya, just so that I have this really clear in my head. When I asked you last time, you said what we get for that amount of money is a manager for the pool. So does she pay for the electricity?
And through you, Mr Mayor, no, the pool manager doesn't pay for electricity.
What about water?
No, council pays for costs like electricity, water, chemicals,
Yes.
gas.
She
So
just
this
runs
is
the
for
pool.
the pool manager and for staffing that she provides to run the pool.
So the difference in this resolution is $10,000 because we made an error in the tender figure? Is that right?
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor. What had happened was when the tenders were initially opened and the evaluation report was prepared, I then read that evaluation report and prepared my report to council based on the figures in that. It wasn't until we went to the pool manager to get her to sign it, she identified that there was actually, the figure was $10,000 less than what she had tendered. So unfortunately, I had to bring this report back to council.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a mover and a second. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to go to the vote.
I'd like to speak against it.
Yeah, please, would you like to speak against? Please go ahead.
I just think it's insane. I just think it's insane that you would pay someone $539,250 a year to run a pool. I actually looked up how much the Prime Minister gets paid, and he gets paid $10,000 more than that a year. So that, I just think this is just beyond ridiculous that we would spend this amount of money for someone to manage a pool. That's all I've got to say.
Okay, with Councillor McMullen, would you like to speak?
Mr Mayor, could I, through you, ask Councillor Taylor how much a year the Prime Minister spends in wages out of his money?
I don't know.
This lady here is paying wages for 3 or 4 or 5 people.
$539,000, Jeff,
Yeah.
a year to run a pool. You have to be kidding me. She did it for 110 before that.
That's why she pulled out on the last contract.
Well, she's back.
Well, no
And
one
I'm
else.
not saying anything against the woman, trust me.
No,
Good
but
on her if she can make it happen, but it's just not right. It's just ridiculous. That's all.
Well, I'll speak for the motion. Well, I totally disagree with Councillor Taylor because unless you've run a pool, I don't think anyone can comment. And there's a huge amount of risk in running a pool. You may have noticed that there was no tenderers put in for the pool. So you may think in your own personal opinion that it is ridiculous to pay $500,000.
I am allowed an opinion.
You are allowed, and I'm allowed an opinion as well. And what I'm saying is that $500,000 with the increase in wages that is happening, I believe actually makes it a safer pool because they probably can afford to have enough lifeguards on doing that. And I do know that when you have no one that wants to put in for a pool, you've got to listen to that. And you can't say the Prime Minister is one person. That's one wage. That is not employing people. And in this day and age, every year employing people, it gets more and more expensive for not only the cost to pay people, but also what it costs to run a business. And the pool manager is running a business. And I don't think that whilst that's a huge amount of money, a massive amount of money, when you start employing people, there's people that are employing people and find out that they've lost money employing people. So I believe that when you've got no one else going for it, you can't say that it's some sort of crazy figure that people would have loved to do because there would have been more people. In fact, most of our pool tenderers, there's very few people, if anyone, that wants to even do it. So we've got a challenge in the community is how do we keep these assets being looked after, and it's a very risky business looking after making sure no one drowns in our pools. So I believe that I hope that the stress from the previous pool operators is taken off with what the council's done, and I certainly believe that we now offer free admission to the pool, and I really hope that means that a lot more people in the region get to use our pool infrastructure that does cost a lot of money for council to subsidise. Does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Hancock.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I voted against this previously and I will again today. And I too have nothing against the tenderer and, you know, congratulations to the tenderer for putting in for the pool. My concern is about can council actually afford it? Can we actually afford to pay this amount of money? And the reason that we have to pay the amount of money that the one tenderer put in for is because of the council's decision to have free entry to the Roma pool. And so it is on the basis of the free entry decision that council has that has pushed this price up that we've seen before us with the tenderer for the pool. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that my concern is I just don't think that council can actually afford it.
Does anyone else wish to speak for or against the motion? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? 6-3 if I can call for a division. L11, councillor attendance at LGAQ annual conference, voting arrangement, motions, submissions. Councillor Taylor.
I would just like to move that one, council consider endorse any motions to be put forward by the Maranoa Regional Council for the formal consideration at the conference, and to nominate 2 delegates, and we have had that discussion this morning, and Councillor O'Neill and Councillor Hancock would like to go. So I'd like to nominate them and any additional observers to attend the 2021 LGAQ annual conference, and 3, draw application, registration, travel accommodation costs from attending councillors' conference budget allocation.
Just on that point, I think council needs to approve the motions. Do we have motions there?
I didn't know how we were going to do that, but we worked on 2 before you got here this morning.
Right. Have we got wording for them?
Yeah. I don't know how to. Do you just want me to read them out?
Yeah. Is it something that should be enclosed, or can it be an open? Right.
So can you, sorry, can I make a suggestion that you email them to Michelle?
Well, Julie might be able to do that, because as we discussed, I flicked them to Julie to get her input in terms of getting it right, and then, so this is...
Copy and paste it.
The first one would be that this LGA Council resolve the following resolution, that this LGAQ conference compel the state government to undertake an immediate review and implement changes that allow elected councillors to fulfil their responsibility of developing and adopting statutory plans and reports. That's the first one. And Julie's kindly provided a bit of background, which is just provisions in the Act. And then the second one, is there a second one there, Julie?
Your first, sorry, Councillor O'Neill. Oops. Yeah. Your first one was the conflict of interest clauses.
Yeah.
Which was.
Oh, sorry. Well, yeah, there was another one there.
Yeah. So that one there I haven't changed. I've just expanded on your second one, which was to do with the statutory plans and reports.
So that's number 1. Number 2. That this LGAQ conference compel the state government to undertake an immediate review of the broad conflict of interest clauses of the Local Government Act and their unintended outcomes on council's ability to make decisions. And that's centred around the sale yards debacle.
So which would be able to speak
I might just email councillors that full copy.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
So there's 2 motions.
2 motions, yeah.
Just seeking some juice.
Is it that the LGAQ conference compel that wording, or is it just that LGAQ? No, it's not necessarily the conference. It's it's the LGAQ.
It's the conference.
Yeah, you
It
want
is
the
the
conference to endorse. Once the conference
yeah.
endorses it, then that
Then
becomes
it goes.
policy.
It's got to go up, and every council, might get 60 out of 77 or something like that.
Yeah.
Support.
Yeah.
It's got to be.
That you vote on.
So they're the 2, Mayor, and then Councillor Edwards raised another matter, which we've got a pathway to go down, which we can discuss at a later date.
You don't want to mention
It won't be.
it won't be.
Unless you want it as a resolution, but we can put it in as a submission ourselves.
Yeah. Can we discuss it here or take too long? But probably not the.
We can come back to it.
But is it confidential things or not?
No, just to do with
I think the question is, Mr Mayor, not actually, was decided not to put it through the LJQ, just to go direct.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, go direct to the,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, missed that, so that's
Yeah.
fine.
Righto, so they're the two motions we know we're voting on if we approve this motion. Okay, do we have a seconder? So who was the mover?
Councillor Taylor moved it.
Councillor Taylor. Is there a seconder? Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Item L12, tender 21039, register of pre-qualified suppliers for the sale and removal of scrap metal, batteries and other valuable recyclable materials. Councillor O'Neill.
Oh, no, I was just being nice and waved.
All right. Okay.
I won't go to an auction.
I'll do.
Councillor Edwards.
I'd like to move that one, we on the right?
Yeah.
Council approve, yeah. One, council approve the addition of businesses listed in the table below to the register of pre-qualified suppliers for the sale and removal of scrap metal, batteries and other valuable recyclable materials established in accordance with section 232 of the Local Government Regulation 2012. Number two, pre-qualification in brackets for the mentioned businesses remains current until 30 September 2024. Number three, council authorises the chief executive officer or delegate to enter into a sale of goods agreement with the selected tenderers, formalising the terms and conditions in the draft sale of goods agreement. Do you want me to read the?
Yeah, because it's only 3 the other day, you had to.
Oh yeah, right. So number one, tender is AMR Recyclers Proprietary Limited, trading as Action Metal Recyclers, local status 0 star. 2, OB1 Proprietary Limited, trading as Gold Coast Resource Recovery, local status is 0 star. 3, Raw Metal Corp Proprietary Limited is the third tender there, and the local status is 0 star. Is that it? Yep, that's it.
Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, through, I've got a question probably for Manager Procurement. Am I reading it that these 3 companies have all got individual parts of the tender, is that?
No. With the recycled material, they just express an interest in what they're interested in purchasing from us. And it's not designed that it limits that they can only purchase a part of it. What we do is we put out a request for quote when, say batteries build up and we get too many batteries, then we'll put a request for quote to these companies and they'll each give us a price for the batteries, and then whoever gives us the best price wins that request for quote.
Oh, okay, so these 3 companies will be asked to quote on different types of recycle or steel or whatever the case may be.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Just, I've got a question on that. Have you had any discussions with the local recycler?
I don't even know who the local recycler is.
Yeah, no, we've got a local recycler in town on edge of the industrial estate there. So,
Yeah.
righto. Do we have so we had a mover, do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We got a mover and a second.
Who was the second, sorry?
Councillor, yeah. So, no, just say that again. So who, so, yeah, Councillor Edwards moved, Councillor Burkett second. Yep. Okay, does anyone wish to speak to it? Against or for? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. L13, request for quotation, crushing, winning and stockpiles at regional gravel pits. Councillor Guthrie,
Mr Mayor, I have a conflict of interest in this particular one.
please go ahead.
It's in L13. Request for quotation, crushing, winning and stockpiling of regional gravel pits. The declaring councillor is myself. The person with the interest is myself, and the particular of the interest is that I own land on the Gunnawan East Road just down from the council gravel pit. Therefore, I would like to declare a declarable conflict of interest, and I would like to ask that my colleagues, even though I have a declarable conflict of interest, I do not believe that a reasonable person could have a perception of bias. There I will choose to remain in the meeting. However, I will respect the decision of the meeting on whether I can remain and participate in the decision.
Okay, Councillor Taylor,
I would like to move that it is in the public interest that Councillor Guthrie participates and votes in agenda item L13 because a reasonable person could trust that the final decision was made in the public interest.
do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Sorry, who was the
8-0.
Councillor McMullen.
Okay, thank you. So just checking that.
Okay. L13, request for quotation, crushing, winning, stockpile at regional gravel pits. Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to move that Council 1 select T&W Earth Moving Proprietary Limited as the recommended supplier for requests for quote, winning, crushing and stockpiling at Kooyong and Gunnawan East gravel pits. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or Delegate to enter into final negotiations with T&W Earth Moving Proprietary Limited, noting the values of A, Kooyong, $250,367.
252.
You missed that.
What?
You missed the 2. Just
252.
I thought I said 252. A, Kooyong, $252,367 inclusive of GST. B, Gunnawan East, $222,736.75 inclusive of GST, and former contract by way of purchase order if the final terms are acceptable.
Councillor Hancock, did you want to second that? Okay. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak?
Can I just ask a question?
Please go ahead.
Through you. Manager Michael, so does that mean that we have the gravel pit and then they just push it up? Is that what that is?
This one, no, this one involves crushing. So winning and stockpiling, we've got a range of pits where we just bulldoze it up into a pile, but this one is bulldozing it up, getting it out of the rock, bulldozing it up and then putting it through a crushing process.
Oh, okay.
And,
It's just I'm very
producing
informed
various
after
ranges of
yesterday with the gravel pits and I was just checking if I knew what I was talking about, which I don't, so it's all good.
So most of the gravel pits
Question.
are usually just a bulldozer and it's just crushed up into a big pile.
Yep.
And that's it. This one is crushing. So we get.
But they're our gravel pits.
They're our,
Yeah.
well, I'm not sure whether they're our gravel pits or the gravel pits on private property that we use.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Some of them are on private property we pay royalty for, and some of them may be on our property and we don't pay royalty for.
Thank you.
Councillor Edwards.
Through you, Mr. Manager Michael, with regards to the difference just in the price, what's the, between the one underneath it, on page 132, so, it's the difference, is that significant?
80,000.
Considering, the way it's been, the age of the stock and the way it's being used and the resource itself, is that a big difference?
No, not really.
No.
No, it's all within budget, that difference.
Okay.
And the other thing about the difference is we're going for a company that has a record of meeting deadlines, productivity schedules, and because this is all the start of a process of doing a whole heap of work around the region, we need to make sure we get it right. So by paying the difference of getting some more security around meeting those targets?
Back into that one, so fair.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
There's two lots. there.
Oh, yeah, right, righto, yeah,
So you're talking
okay.
about the difference between the two pits?
Yeah, we'll take the take the 252 versus the one underneath it in the first grid, which is, what's that, anyway. And the bottom one, the Gunnawan East gravel pit.
It's about 190
So
all
if you
up.
take, if you take the
Saying the difference is
222.
in the
It's a
quantity.
fair bit when
Yeah, I just
you
want
add
to know
both together.
if it's significant, taking into account all the factors, you know, at the end of the day, is it significant? You know, the amount of crushing. So when do they come back again and do the crushing? Is
They do it straight away.
5 years' time, 2 years' time?
Well, it would depend on their work schedule. They're doing this crushing purely because we have.
This is flood damage and doing a reshoot, so
right.
it's part of the
Yeah.
flood damage, that's why they're there.
So that could be utilised straight away. Yeah, just an annual.
That's exactly right, they're
Yeah.
reducing material for a set job, so
Yeah, yeah.
it won't just sit there for a stockpile for a period. There's actually flood damage work, both those ones, so.
Yeah, I'm just thinking it'd be less significant if it was over a period of time, but it's not really. No, okay.
Righto. Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder.
Yep.
Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Item L14, request for quotation, road stabiliser machines for road maintenance. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that council one select TJ and JE Campbell Proprietary Limited as the preferred supplier for quote road stabilisation equipment for various roads across the region. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to enter into final negotiations with TJ and JE Campbell Proprietary Limited, noting the value of $468,160, including GST, and form a contract by way of purchase order if final terms are acceptable. 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to approve any variations within budget for these projects.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. L15, extension of airport security screening contract. Councillor Ladbrook.
I'd
Yeah,
like to
sorry,
approve the
Councillor.
council.
Hang on.
Sorry, before councillor reads it out, there just probably just needs to be a second part to there, if Michael can suggest there, just, in the body of the report, it mentions the legal advice about how we should be actually moving it forward. I just said to Michael, perhaps we should include that in the resolution.
What I'm suggesting is where we get down to the last line, 16th of April 2022, in line with the legal advice given. That includes, I might read the whole lot out.
Yeah.
The council approved the chief executive officer or delegate negotiate an arrangement with MSS Security to extend the contract to a maximum of 12 months to the 16th of April 2022. That includes an early termination right in line with legal advice given.
You have to read it off.
That's probably more precise.
The reason we came back, council, is that council wanted to know, could they actually get out of the contract earlier if the carrier changed? So, yeah, so that was, we were asked to come back, by the reports back again.
So that means we can if we have this in there,
If you
with an
include
early termination, if there was a major change at the airport.
Correct.
They happy with that?
Councillor O'Neill.
Mayor, just for, in terms of correct process, I in fact moved this resolution a fortnight ago, and then I believe there was a seconder, and then it was laid on the table for the information that you gathered. So I've in fact already moved
Yeah, well, that's
the
a good
resolution.
point. Well, it won't be Councillor Ladbrook then if you've already moved it. We'll have to have a look back in the, just get the wording right. So you've moved something else, other
Well, I
word.
moved what was here, right? whatever was presented on this matter a fortnight ago, if it was a fortnight, it could have been 3 weeks ago, I can't remember. Sorry, I moved it, and before you got a seconder, it went to lay on the table. Yeah.
Page 11 if people are looking for it.
Page 11 of the
Of the minutes.
The resolution's what you've got, Mayor, and it just added, the addition of what you've got is in line with the legal advice. The rest of it's the same.
Did you see the wording up there?
Yeah, I'm happy to move that.
Right, so that's in line with what you did last time and you added a bit, sort of thing.
Well, I know it's changed since what I did last time.
Would it be right or clause? Or option? I might get a coffee.
Right is the word they use.
Is it? Okay, so councillor O'Neill's moved that. Is there a seconder for that motion?
So I'll read it out.
Yeah, please
I'll
go.
move the council approve the chief executive officer or delegate to negotiate an arrangement with MSS Security to extend the contract to a maximum of 12 months to the 16th of April 2022. That includes an early termination right.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0.
Hello.
The new tender starts, I don't know if it's in here, I didn't see it, but the new, whoever flies to Roma starts on the 1st of January.
Whoever wins the
Whoever, yeah, is awarded the contract.
We're doing the coffee.
Was everything done on that one?
I might just have a break for 5 minutes and then we'll go into close.
Okay, we'll just resume now. Have we got someone we can go into close? Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move in accordance with the provisions of sections 254J3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012. That council resolved to close the meeting to the public to discuss confidential items that as council considered necessary to close the meeting. In accordance with section 254J5 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the following table provides the matters to be discussed, an overview of what is to be discussed while the meeting is closed. Michelle, if you could just...
Sorry, go up.
Yeah.
Keep forgetting me.
Okay. I don't know if you can move, yeah.
That's annoying, isn't it?
You just keep going down for me, please. Yep, so C1, application for conversion of tenure, lot 22 on KE5, 6 lots 4 to 8 on KE10. C2, application for conversion of tenure, lot 3 on DL 474 and lot 1 on SP302130. C3, application for conversion of tenure, lot 3 on BDR 93. C4, application for conversion of tenure, lot 26 on DL 225, lot 1 on DL 273, lot 133 on DL 478, lot 219 on DL 478, lot 262 on DL 132, lot 41 on DL 36746, lot 25 on DL 225. C5, proposed acquisition of land, lot 314 on I7182. LC1, concession application assessment 15019 and LC2 request waiver of debt recovery legal fees assessment 13016 290.
Do you mind, Councillor O'Neill, if we add the organisational restructure report to the list of...
This is an LC3.
Oh,
It's 0.
and
There's
there
2.
was some that Sharon had too.
Sharon, you had one too.
Sharon's got 2.
Yeah,
Oh,
One is
no, okay.
organisational restructure.
So, Chair, if I can recommend, pause with me. We need a mover and a seconder to add it to the agenda in the first instance, to the organisational structure that the CEO's.
We've got some others to add too, though.
Have we got more to add as well?
You've, yeah, but
So we're going to add them all to the agenda at once.
before we go into close.
So can I just make a suggestion,
move.
because we don't have those numbers? If you're going to move in a second to add the organisational one, and we can finish going into committee, into close, because
Okay. Could I move it, Councillor Hancock, to move,
I'll move to add 3 reports to the agenda.
which will be LC3. No, you're moving one report.
I can only put 1 report. I wanted to put 3 reports on.
Have you got all the numbers?
Yeah.
Well,
today?
they're both zeros. They both come through as zero.
I don't
Item
have
number
there's
zero?
no item number, so
just the
they'll have to
agenda,
come.
agenda
Just the
topic.
subject
Well,
heading.
you can make the agenda item number, which would be LC3.
Righto, LC3 organisational structure,
And then
and then it's the.
Sharon.
And who's second? You just.
So we know-
This is one motion.
Wait till,
Yeah,
wait.
and then we will do.
What's in there?
Well, it would be L16,
Yep.
Oh, is this open? Sorry.
right? It'll be L16.
Sorry.
Commercial use of local government controlled area, request to use Roma sale yard stud stock selling arena for bull goat sale. And, yep, request, sorry, the next one would be L17. Request from Australian Livestock and Property Agents Association, ALPA.
Okay, do I have a seconder,
Add them to the
please?
agenda.
Councillor Burkett, any opposition?
We just might need to give them. Sean.
And anyone want to speak for or against? I will put it to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0.
Have we got any conflicts with that before we go on?
Do you need a moment?
I have a conflict.
Anyone got conflicts?
Yeah, I have a conflict.
Councillor,
On one of the closed items.
On one of the closed items, LC1.
Councillor Guthrie has a conflict on LC1.
Okay.
Have we got a conflict with that one?
Maybe all that if we do.
Well, Rome sale yards.
Yeah, I've got that, well, I've got started drafting that.
Oh,
Deputy Mayor, can I
Yeah,
begin my?
Go for it.
My conflict of interest would be in LC1, concession application assessment 150-19417. The declaring councillor is myself. The relationship is that this particular applicant is located on Comine East Road. I live on Comine East Road. I also own land, so it really is a neighbour further down the road. So I would like to, the type of conflict would be a declarable conflict of interest. And Michelle, can I just
Yes.
prevail on you just to go a little bit further up so I know what I'm going to read? Thank you. Even though I have a declarable conflict of interest, I do not believe a reasonable person could have a perception of bias. Therefore, I will choose to remain in the meeting. However, I will respect the decision of the meeting on whether I can remain and participate in the decision.
Sorry, we've got a mover, Councillor Taylor.
No, I'd like to move that it is in the public interest that councillor Guthrie participates and votes on an agenda item, what was
It's LC1.
LC1, because a reasonable person would trust that the final decision was made in the public interest.
Have a seconder, please. Councillor Ladbroke, anyone opposition, anyone want to speak? All those in favour?
I'm just a bit concerned about the information that's been provided.
Why is that, good, Councillor?
Look, I believe it's, might be giving, we're talking assessment notices normally.
Can we just,
Sorry.
So what's the concern, sorry?
Explain.
Are you ordering me to explain?
No, I'm just saying we're waiting for an explanation of what's happening.
Okay, well, we've just divulged confidential information about where it is.
There's also 8 people that live on the Comine East Road.
She's saying you should have mentioned the road.
Which item was it, sorry?
LC1.
LC1.
I'm not mentioning any names.
No,
Anyone
no
that
names
mentions my
mentioned?
name.
But that, you'd have to do that to declare your conflict of interest,
And
you
I've
can't.
also got to declare
Well,
the
you have
Y, which
raised,
is where I live, so that's public knowledge
Yeah.
to anybody. It's in the telephone directory, and I have lived there for nearly 40 years, so it's common knowledge. I haven't mentioned who the applicant is.
yeah,
Because I didn't end up voting.
yeah, so all those in favour? 7-0, yeah, 7-0, please.
Then you've got to say it again.
Oh, sorry, okay, all those against, sorry? So it was 6-1, sorry.
So that request there, that was just introduced to the agenda before to do with the sale yards and stuff, is that
It's not in committee, like it's not enclosed. So we
No,
can
no.
back to the
Come,
vote.
yeah.
Yeah, righto.
We've only added it to the agenda.
So Deputy Mayor, you've got to move it, which is me to go into close.
Yeah,
That's all the
yeah.
items. So you
Okay, councillor O'Neill's moved to go into close. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Taylor, any opposition? All those,
Sorry, I wanted to know if we had to do a conflict on that while we're in open.
No, but we'll be coming back to that.
That's in
later,
open.
So you can do that.
discuss it.
Righto, okay.
It's not in the closed.
Righto,
It's
so,
just the items that are listed for post.
righto.
okay, so we've got a mover and a seconder to go into close. Is there any opposition? All those in favour? So it's 8-0.
And Deputy Mayor, in addition to the list of items that I read out earlier for summary, in the summary to go into closed, I add LC3, which was organisational structure.
Okay, so councillor O'Neill's moved that. Go add the organisational structure to the agenda. Have I have a?
No, that's already, I'm adding it to the summary for closed.
Okay, it's added to the, do we have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Burkett, any opposition? All those in favour? 8-0. Now,
So just so we're clear,
Yep.
this is incredibly messy. I'll now move that we go into closed.
Yep.
I'm not reading out the summary again.
so councillor O'Neill
You might need to do shorthand over there.
moved we go into close. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Taylor will second again. I think the minutes take us a bit behind, not knocking her, but we give a little chance to catch up.
Sorry, Michelle.
We can tell you what they've done.
No, I just give me.
Do you have those, the middle bits? Yes, I've got them all written down.
So the last you had,
Yeah.
you just put a move and a second to go into closed.
Yeah.
The motion that
but-
councillor Guthrie stated.
Oh, well, we'll let her catch up.
Motion to
Oh,
close.
we can go into closed.
Okay, right, then. All those against? Oh, no, well, all those in favour? 8-0.
C1, application for conversion of tenure on lot 22 on KE 56, lot 4 to 8 on KE 10. Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move the council advise the Department of Resources that it offers no objection to the conversion of GHPL 36/7637 over lot 22 on KE 56 and GHPL 36/7500 over lots 4 of 8 on KE 10 to freehold tenure, and that it would be recommended as part of the conversion. 1. The state allocate reserve land along the boundary of either lot 22 on KE 56 or lot 4 on KE 10 to secure access for Lot 5 on KE10. Consideration should be given to ensure the area allocated is suitable for the purposes of constructing a road. 2, the new allocated road reserve be connective with the existing allocated road reserve on the north of the lots.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C2. You ready, Michelle? C2, application for conversion of tenure on Lot 3 on DL 474 and Lot 1 on SP 302130. Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to move that Council advise the Department of Resources that it offers no objection to the conversion of GHPL 36/7665 over Lot 3 on DL 474 and Lot 1 on SP 302130 to freehold tenure provided, 1, the state secures permanent access to Lot 3 on DL 474 by repositioning the road reserve over the existing track through land described as Lot 129 on DL 401, and number 2, consideration is given to reconfiguration of Lot 3 on DL 474 and Lot 1 on SP 302130 into one parcel for the purpose of securing property access.
We have a seconder, Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're
The word access or access track. Oh, yeah, you didn't say that. Yeah.
Yep.
Existing access track.
Go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Okay, moving on to C3. Application for conversion of tenure on Lot 3 on BDR 93. Councillor Hancock.
I move that Council advise the Department of Resources that it offers no objection to the conversion of GHPL 36/8005 over Lot 3 on BDR 93 to freehold tenure on the condition 1, the applicant ensures that the constructed sections of Maranoa Road that run adjacent to the property are currently contained fully within the dedicated road reserve, and 2, as part of the conversion, the state secures permanent access to Lot 1 on BDR 13 by way of road reserve over the existing alignment of Oakvale Road.
We have a seconder, Councillor Edwards. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C4, application for conversion of tenure at Lot 26 on DL 225, Lot 1 on DL 273, Lot 133 on DL 478, Lot 219 on DL 478, Lot 262 on DL 132, Lot 41 on D36746, Lot 25 on DL 225. Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to move the Council advise the Department of Resources that offers 1, no objection to the conversion of GHPL 36/7679 over Lot 26 on DL 225, Lot 1 on DL 273, Lot 133 on DL 478 to freehold tenure. Number 2, no objection to the conversion of GHPL 36/7683 over Lot 219 on DL 478 to freehold tenure on the condition that the applicant ensures that the constructed sections of Currawong Road that run adjacent to the property are currently contained fully within the dedicated road reserve. 3, no objection to conversion of GHPL 36/7261 over Lot 262 on DL 132 to freehold tenure. 4, no objection to the conversion of TL 239065 over Lot 41 on D36746 to freehold tenure. And 5, no objection to the conversion of GHPL 36/7680 over Lot 25 on DL 225 to freehold tenure.
Okay, we have a seconder, Councillor Edwards. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C5, proposed acquisition of land, lot 314 on 17182. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that, excuse me, council authorise the chief executive officer or delegate to enter negotiations with the property owners of land described as lot 314 on 17182 with the view to acquiring the property.
Yeah, it's I.
Sorry?
It's I-17182.
I-7182, isn't it? Sorry, I-7182.
Okay, we got a second to councillor Hancock. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0.
And on LC one, the other turnout. Did we talk about that? LC one.
LC1, concession application assessment 150-194-17. Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move. I'll move that Council 1 reimburse 50% of the increase in general rates due to the capping not being applicable in those particular circumstances for the 2020-21 financial year. 2, review the rating methodology for the rating category rural under 80 hectares, is it? Equal to over 80 hectares. And 3, provide customer justification of rate charges for properties with similar valuations.
Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Ladbrook. Just clarifying point 3. Provide customer justification of rate charges with properties. So how would you carry that out, Director Sharon? Or what was...
Well, we would, for that category, what the rating dollar is multiplied by the valuation is.
So therefore, if they've lost the capping, so you'd really only be able to show the ones without capping, because that's that similar category, wouldn't it? Because they've lost capping, and that's why these have spiked so much. You know, we've got that.
Correct.
Yeah, but the properties are still calculated by the rating dollar by valuation.
Yeah, correct. But what I'm saying is, to provide customers with justification of rates charges for properties with similar valuations, this is an uncapped property because obviously it's been put together. So that means that we have to do it on that basis. It's no good showing them capped ones because they're completely different.
Well, we'll have to have a look and see if they're doing.
Yeah, and what we can share as far as, you know, that's not confidential. Is that what you expectation? Okay.
Mr Mayor, I'm just looking, because we get the, what's the word, I can't, we get the rates notices to actually show how it happened, isn't it?
Yeah.
Copies of them.
But point 3 to me would mean that we'd have to find some generic ones that are similar to show this is what happens when you don't have capping. And that is actually caused by them combining valuations with the state government under their legislation. Apparently it's legislation now, they have to do it.
It's not amalgamating valuations, it's amalgamating property.
Oh, properties, the valuations of properties, so it's, yeah, they used to get separate rates notices. Okay, anybody got any questions? We've got a mover and a second. Anyone wish to speak for or against the motion? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. LC2, request to waive of debt recovery legal fees, assessment 1301629. I move that we lay this on the table to the next general meeting. All those in favour? 9-0.
LC3,
Mr Mayor, they were added.
He's got, you got a copy.
LC3, is that the org structure?
Yeah.
LC3, organisational structure. Do we have a mover? I'll move it. Or does someone else wish to?
It's,
Joe's got it.
go to your email.
Oh,
Righto.
No, to your
Oh,
email.
Councillor
email.
Hancock.
I move that council adopt the below minor changes to the organisational structure. 1, change position title from Facilities Booking Officer and User Agreements 0324 to Property Management and Customer Service Coordinator 0324. 2, change position title from Property and Tenancy Officer 0634 to Property Management and Customer Service Officer 0634. 3, change position title from Support Officer Facilities 0512 to Leases and Agreements Administration Officer 0512. 4, change position title from Recruitment and Onboarding Officer 0201 to Human Resources Officer 0201. 5, change reporting line for Trainee Business Administration from Director Waru to Director Bungle. 6, change position title from Customer Service Officer Bungle 0640 to Customer Service Library Arts and Culture Officer Bungle 0640. 7, change position title from Library Arts and Cultural Officer Bungle Casual FTE 0.50 0667 to Customer Service Library Arts and Cultural Officer Bungle Casual FTE 0.50 0667. 8, change position title from Library Arts and Cultural Officer Bungle Part-Time FTE 0.52 0666 to Customer Service / Library Arts and Cultural Officer Bungle Casual FTE 0.50 0666.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
Can I just clarify, sorry, councillors, those changes with the bundle ones, that will be, the consultation will occur before implementing? Because it'll be subject to consultation with the officers.
Did you want that in the recommendation? In the resolution, sorry?
Yeah, so, points.
What about point 9, just subject to consultation?
No, it's only, sorry, because it,
Happy to add it in brackets to
It-
points 6, 7 and 8?
yeah, it's just 6, 7,
Yep.
we've got through all of them, we just need.
Yeah, happy to add subject to employee consultation?
Prior consultation.
Prior consultation.
I got a question.
And 7 and 8 as well.
Yeah.
With these, is any of these a loss in position or man hours or something? Like, what I mean is, if it was half a position, it's still half a position, or have we gone down from a full position to a half position? Or
Well, it actually says casual.
I see there's some casual FTEs there, but like that seven's exactly the same, isn't it? So they're the same.
It's 0.5 to 0.5.
Yeah, yeah.
Next one down, 0.5 to 0.5.
The only one is the one that says part-time to casual.
Yeah, part-time 0.52 to casual 0.5, so
It's the same.
0.2.
Oh yeah, pretty much the same.
Why would we be changing from part-time to casual?
I'd suggest it's probably just more flexibility.
Yeah, yeah.
Righto, we got a mover. Did we have a seconder for that?
Maybe the second.
Councillor Burkett. Yeah, right. No. We know what computers are like.
Have you hit any roos yet in your car, Burko? Have you hit any roos in your car?
The missus did.
Councillor Burke?
Councillor Burkett.
Oh,
You seconded the motion.
Thought you were going to get a rap across the knuckles, didn't you? You were going to.
We're just waiting for a computer issue to be solved.
I say she hit a roo.
wow. She's not 100% sure.
Getting all the
We
jargon.
had a hair last night. Get on the road this morning, little hair.
You're about to do it. All those in favour? 9-0. Okay, moving on to
LC 16, I think we called it.
LC 16.
No, not LC, L16,
L16.
which is one of those white ones.
And what's the title on that one? Alpa. Gotcha. Okay, request for Australian Livestock Stock and Property Agents Association, Alpa.
Who's got it on?
Yeah.
How do I get rid of that?
I'm not even on team, so.
I'd like to move that this lay on the table to a special meeting next week. All those in favour?
Hand up.
9-0.
We got one on the table from this
Hang
morning.
on, LC 17.
LC 17, commercial use of local government controlled area, request to use Roma Sayards.
L17,
Sorry,
yeah,
just
sorry.
L17.
L17.
Commercial use of local government controlled area, request to use Roman sale yard stud stock selling area for a boar goat sale. Councillor McMullen.
Mayor, I move this lay on the table to the next meeting.
Yeah, till next week's meeting.
Next week, well, next week's meeting.
Yeah, so we can get an answer to that. All those in favour? 9-0.
Now,
Tennis.
L6.
Yep.
67.
Just be, that was just laid on the table.
No, until later in the meeting.
Which one was this?
It's a bit
L-
confusing, but, so I'm happy to do it later on table on next meeting, but we didn't say next meeting.
Was it next week? That's what I heard.
No,
next-
there was a fair bit
next meeting.
going on.
Next meeting.
You sure?
Yeah.
I just
I'm
thought
happy
it
to
was
do
laid on,
next
it was
meeting.
just laid on the
It's later
table.
To the, no, in the meeting, sorry,
Yeah.
not next meeting.
Which one was it?
L6.
L6.
You're just trying
Uh,
to get less work.
So I think we got some clarification about that, we have put in a letter, but it's for future budgets, not for that budget, just when we're speaking about it. So,
That's right. And we've never committed dollars without it being allocated.
no, but we have, but for future budgets, not for this budget.
Future budget, you're making the decision of the future budget. This is about committing now.
Yeah. So,
We're in the, yeah.
That's what I said. That's right. You cannot do what you propose.
Well,
Even though I support it, we've
Yeah.
got to have a budget allocation. Otherwise, we are all liable. All 9 of us.
it's in the original,
And I love the tennis. I'm not paying for it.
it's in the original recommendation, it's in the Q1 budget review. We never talked about that this morning. It's in the officer's recommendation.
Yeah, that's
So you could
that's
just
right.
do exactly that.
So where are we at?
well, I move we lay this on the table till next week's special meeting to get some more information about where we could find budget for this. And obviously consider the whole thing next Wednesday or next week.
Tuesday. Or alternatively, if we consider it as part of the quarterly budget review, which is only.
What was the recommendation?
Yeah, well, I move to lay it on the table to next week so we've got all the information. All those in favour? All those against? 7-2 if I can call for a division. Any further business? Okay,
Before we go, we've got to set a date, a time and a date for the special meeting.
We have just organised it. We don't, I don't think we need to set it tonight, but we just need to know. I know that councillors,
Well, we've got deputations on Tuesday that would have to work.
Have you closed the meeting?
no, not yet.
I'd like to just make, I'll be an apology for the first 2 or 3 hours Tuesday morning. That's all I want to let, I've already let Kelly know, but obviously she's not here.
Righto, so we'll have to get,
Here for a couple of hours.
well, thank you. We'll have to get everyone's ability to be able to attend the special meeting.
What, we've got,
Nothing
Bring
on
direct.
Tuesday afternoon, I don't think, is there?
Well, Booringa Action Group's coming in.
I've got to be gone by about 2:30 on Tuesday.
Our last thing on Tuesday is 1 PM.
yeah,
So it might be, maybe it needs to be Wednesday, because we need everyone. What about, well, anyway, I'll close the the ordinary meeting now at 5:06 PM. Thank you, councillors, for your attendance.
Thank you.